alternate to how do I link the live video?
It's not live yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be pulling up. It's later on YouTube, but here it is. All right, there's that one.
Alternate to
Okay. And
Hot mics.
yeah, all hot mics. This is when we usually say something stupid,
that's me.
as opposed to
All the time.
the whole rest of the show. All right, but we are live. Is it pulling up on YouTube yet?
I'm looking now. Let's see
All
what
right.
we got.
Well, anyways, we'll just kick this off. So tonight, welcome everyone. Tonight we're with Nicholas Mitchell, and he is running for the Senate for the great state of Utah. And yeah, we're gonna kind of give him a platform. Tell us what he is, kind of what he's hoping to achieve with it. So, first I think we'll, yeah.
So, that's what I meant by volume off.
Yeah. All right.
You'll learn the little quirks as we go along. It's
Yeah.
not too complicated to figure out.
He's trying to do some sharing real quick. And if I knew what I was doing, I would have done this for him, but I don't know what I'm doing either.
I have no idea what I'm doing right now.
But yeah, Nicholas. Yeah. So Nicholas, you say you're a scientist.
Yeah.
What do you study? What do you science in?
I science and everything. I don't
Here, bring the mic right up kind of by your face.
right here is good.
Yeah,
Right
we'll
here.
actually raise it up a little bit. Here, go ahead and lift it up. Lift this up. There we go. You're a tall guy. So we'll bring it in and then bring it right to the edge of the table. And all right. So what's your field?
My specialty is probably, so first off, I want to say I don't have a degree.
Okay.
But my specialty is turning out to be biology and chemistry.
So you're going to school for biology and chemistry right now?
I was going to school.
Come in real close.
I was going to school, but I was working 2 jobs and going to school. I was married at the time, and I got involved in a workers' accident that put me down for about 5 years. And,
That's a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time. I had like 6 surgeries.
What happened?
Long story short, trucking parts fell on my head and neck.
Oh.
And so I'm a football player. I played football. I participated. I was as a walk-on, basically, just got beat up on.
Mm-hmm.
But
you practiced on it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually got, I got hit with it, and I thought immediately I went to football mode. If you guys played,
I played football.
Okay,
yeah.
so you hide concussions immediately.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. I thought I was in the middle of a football game. When I came
Really?
out, I was just like, yeah, I'm fine. And I was like, and I realized where I was. And I was like, oh, I'm not okay. And so then I got sent. They get concussed. They told me to drive myself to the the workers' comp hospital.
Uh-huh.
And I got lost on the way there. I had to call my wife at the time to come pick me up and drive me. And then it turned from like something simple to just compounding into surgeries and everything. And so I barely just gotten back from all that in 2020. And so then I was working a couple jobs, and then I just, had a little run-in with my last company, and then got fired and started working on my tattooing. And that's what started my actual scientific, why I can call myself a scientist, is because Black people can't get color tattoos. Should I be looking there or at you guys?
You can look wherever you want.
Okay.
You're good.
Point your mouth towards
the little
mic.
green light is the camera.
Okay.
But yeah, but you can
Okay.
we can have a conversation
Yeah.
between us. We're good with that.
Yeah. And so I made tattooing that makes it so Black people can get color tattoos. And along the way, I gave myself heavy metal poisoning. Which is
metal?
I did tests with titanium, chromium, cobalt. Yeah, once you hear everything, it's gonna blow your mind. Titanium, cobalt, chromium.
A conglomerate of heavy metal.
Yeah.
So it actually takes quite a bit of titanium to get heavy metal toxicity from titanium.
It does. but all those chemicals are in tattoo inks.
So how much time you got?
Oh,
I mean, are we limited on the show?
No. Like, no, I'm good now. We just do chelation therapy.
I mean, I noticed you got some Calvin and Hobbes on you, which is my favorite comic.
Mine too. I got 2 of them. These are actually I got this one after I had a heart attack. And I got this one after I got fired from that company.
My favorite was always when he used to build the snowman atrocities.
Yeah, I wanted them to do a movie, and I think it was really funny.
Yeah, I just watched a show about the writer of that, and he did it for 10 years and then just quit.
Yeah,
and lives in Connecticut and
doesn't
do anything.
Yeah, I wish he would make more, and he won't make a movie or anything, and so it's too bad.
We got to wait until he dies.
Make a movie.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. And I did Calvin and Hobbes. So
let me ask, were you successful in finding a formula so that Black people can have colored tattoos?
You want to see it?
I do.
Yeah.
This one right here. It's hard to see right now, but that's because the pigmentation, I didn't have I had to tweak it a little bit, and I have the tweaked version ready to go at home, but this is the foundation of it.
Okay.
So like this one doesn't have, this used to have green hair when I first got it done, and you can't see that.
So what about Black people makes the color leave the tattoo?
It's not the colors leaving the tattoo, it's the new skin forming over the top.
Oh, it's because it's probably darker, more melanin, so it cover.
So I stopped the production of melanin in the skin.
Really? Yeah. So that's what you did. You Michael Jackson where the tattoo was.
Because of the heavy metal toxicity.
No, because I gave myself heavy metal poisoning because I was also trying to find a way to remove tattoo inks without a laser, which I kind of did, unfortunately, and that's what gave me heavy metal poisoning.
You do, but your hair falls out and your penis falls off.
Yeah, it was not. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks.
Oh,
and they couldn't figure it out until I was like,
until you said, "Hey, guess what I do?"
Yeah.
Don't look in my closet, but
yeah, and so like it was just it was I knew it was going to happen because I had written like pages about it in my lab book about absorption rates of tattoo ink, how much specifically I put into my body.
Come on, real close to the mic.
Oh, how much I put into my body, and so I knew it was going to be a problem going in, because especially if I was able to remove it, it would dump a lot of metal into my body all at once, and these were small lines too, and I still got heavy metal poisoning.
Some metals are microscopic nano little particles that's all you need to
Mercury
to get hurt from. You know, like chromium-6, things like that. Screw you up quick.
Yeah. Well, it's the chromium-6, it comes from welding. I mean, that's something they don't find out.
Not only welding, but grinding.
Yeah. Anytime you heat up stainless, they don't figure that out until years down the road when the cancer's chewed you up.
So that's what I do. Is I'm the safety guy over at Tooele Army Depot. So I used to actually sample for the heavy metal toxicity, breathing zone samples and things like that for the workers.
Also, you're there too. I like it.
It's an interesting perspective you've got going on. It sounds like something, if you're successful in helping Black people find, and I did not know that Black people could not have colored tattoos.
Yeah.
I would imagine that would be very profitable if you are successful and able to come out with your own line of product to.
So are you a tattoo artist?
No, I'm just a nerd. I'm just
so you're not even a tattoo artist, you're just grinding this out for someone else?
Well, I always wanted color tattoos. Specifically, I wanted a white tattoo. And when I got my first tattoo, I was like, I want it. And they're like, you can't get color tattoos. And I was like, wait, what? And they told me again, and I was like, that's gonna be I'm gonna fix that. And so eventually when I decided, you know what, now is my chance to kind of go in and invest in myself a little bit, I did it, and I came out with a prototype in 6 months while having 2 emergency surgeries, and
and getting sick. And
getting sick was like 3 months ago.
What was that lady's name that played with the lady scientist that played with the radium?
Madame Curie.
Yeah,
by Madame Curie myself. Or Marie Curie.
Yeah.
Well, she ended up 6 feet under afterwards. So let's hope you didn't go that far.
I didn't play with uranium and whatever. Was it uranium?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was uranium. Yeah,
Uranium, plutonium.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah, it's one of those radioactive
It was uranium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Okay.
and then like I have my other one that I really want to talk about because it will affect the entire U.S. is I'm making a non-lethal option for police.
Mhm.
It's I call it a diaper round. It's made with sodium polyacrylate, and so it's a step up from a taser because it will break ribs, but it won't kill somebody, and it won't physically it will hurt them, but then it can be targeted for them to be brought down a lot easier than rather than
So
shot.
what is it?
It's right now I prototype because I don't have a ton of money. I prototype on the cheap, and so my prototype right now is just a water balloon, and I made a contraption that basically an air gun that I can have measurable PSIs on there, and I'm getting the measure to measure the speed of the bullet or the projectile, that the chronograph, I tested it on myself the other day. It works really well. But I need to be able to measure speed because instead of the current non-lethal projectiles rely on mass, and I'm relying on velocity.
Okay.
And I can make it 4 times as small essentially. So I can make it so it's a handgun versus a shotgun.
So it could be like a paintball size.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And what is the chemical or the substance you're making? How does it bring them down?
Is
it pain compliance?
Yeah, pretty much. It's I mean, personally speaking, I'm 6'2", 240, covered in tattoos, black. I'm the walking definition of like of a threat. I would rather deal with broken ribs than a bullet hole. And it's made out of the stuff that diapers are made out of. And so then I added some water. That way it will maintain its velocity as like a full metal jacket, but has a concussive force of a hollow point. And so that way so as the force is dispersed into the body, it will stretch out and have built-in weak points. And so basically will just explode on the body.
That sounds painful.
Yeah.
Now you've said you've tried this out on yourself. Were you wearing some type of armor or?
Oh, no. I did it like at lowered PSI just to see if I was actually onto something.
Okay.
And I only did it at 25 PSI, and it made me scream. So it gave me a bruise and some welts. And so I am onto I'm onto something here. So
yeah.
Just a couple more, maybe like a month or two, and I'll get it done.
I do like the idea of less lethal. My favorite idea, obviously I've talked about many times, is bringing economic opportunity into everywhere, and then there's no more crime anyway.
Yep. And and like my goal is to hire only the unsheltered for this company because I don't believe in profiting off of the human life.
Your goal is to test on unsheltered?
No,
just kidding.
For them to manufacture the projectile so that
we know someone we can get you in touch with that she runs an outreach for unsheltered, and she could definitely look into seeing if any of her folks or group are looking to work when the time comes. So
her group is called the Nomad Alliance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're in Salt Lake. She works all around the Salt Lake area.
So we haven't yet had the opportunity to actually introduce our guest by name.
I did right in the beginning. Nicholas Mitchell.
Nicholas Mitchell. Now Nicholas Mitchell is running a campaign. He's going to you're on the Democratic Party, right?
Correct. But I'm a scientist, so I follow data, and that's truly independent. And so I'm trying to be bipartisan.
So you kind of lean a little libertarian kind of way, but
I lean doing what's right.
Okay, but you're going to run on the Democrat ticket
because I'm not a Republican.
Gotcha. So he's going to run against Mike Lee in the Senate race, and I don't think you're contested yet in the Democrat Party.
There's 2 other people, but I'm not sure how serious they are about it. I'm very serious. I'm doing it. I'm all right. And so, there will be people, but I'm not sure who. I hope there's people because that's democracy. I don't want to go in uncontested.
No, I can totally understand that. But you are going against Mike Lee.
Yeah.
So
Mike Lee.
So with that being said, Nick, how did you get a political bone in your body after getting wrecked by a vehicle accident, going through college and experimenting with heavy metals? Where did the political excitement come from?
I was always going to do politics. I always dreamt of doing politics, just not at this age. And why I decided to run now is because I was actually going to oppose Burgess Owen. So you're lucky. And then Mike Lee started talking a little bit more, and I started researching who he was, what he's about, and I realized that he needs to go.
He needs to go.
Yep.
All right. So you're doing research.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about Mike Lee that caught your attention and red flags popped up everywhere and you started seeing lightning bolts?
It would be January 6th was the moment I kind of latched onto him. And the minutes after that, when he came out and he said that Trump was wrong and what he did was, I can't remember if he said bad or illegal. I can't remember which word, but he basically said what he did was wrong, but he wouldn't vote to impeach.
Mm-hmm.
How can you say what he did was wrong and then not vote to impeach?
Even after the report the FBI just released?
Which report are you referring to?
The one that said, there's no sign that Trump initiated that. It came out last week.
I'm not
also
aware of that.
The timeline where Trump gave his speech 32 minutes into the storming of the Capitol Hill.
Jared, just to correct you, the report didn't say he didn't do anything wrong. They said scant evidence.
Yeah, you're correct.
So we still have scant.
And then the timeline
is-
doesn't match up that Trump didn't send people down there because otherwise they would have had to have a time machine, jump back 32 minutes.
Now
and then
I get what you're saying now. Yeah, he couldn't have sent them down there because
He
they were
couldn't have.
already there. Some of them were already
they
down
were,
there.
all of them were already
Yeah.
there.
I haven't read that report yet. I've been super busy this week.
Mhm.
And so if you want to shoot that to me, I would love to take a look at it.
Okay, yeah, it just came out last week. I think the hard part with that is now, one, I'm not a Trump supporter.
Mhm.
Dave is. I am as far libertarian as you get.
Okay.
But I don't like the narratives that are always brought up, like the first impeachment of Trump and then the second. And it's just political grandstanding with no honesty that just tore our nation to shreds.
And this would be the third, right? If they're going to try another attempt. And I don't think they can impeach him now because he's not the president.
That's
But
still
if they could.
that's still faded waters because it's never been looked at before.
Yeah.
But I don't like that.
Yeah.
Right now, we seriously stand on the precipice of this nation becoming dangerous to its citizens.
Exactly. That's why one of my stances.
And our threat
Yeah.
is the Democrat Party.
See, I think it's.
Did you see that Pelosi's asking for names right now?
Names of.
Just any Republican donor. It's crazy the names she's asking for.
Yeah.
Podcasters, people that weren't involved with the six. She wants their names so that she can come after them. It's
For what?
It's getting scary.
For what?
I don't know. Political persecution, maybe.
See, like I said.
I would like to know why she's asking for him as well.
Yeah, because I need to know.
I'm not
the
familiar with that news tidbit though.
Well, you guys
Me
keep
too.
talking. I'll see if I can.
And I want to hear more about these political sparks that hit you
Yeah.
Okay.
and made you want to go in this direction.
I'm just going to say this about Mike Lee. He said he'd run for 2 terms. He's running for a 3rd. It's not that hard to keep promises. And that's a very basic promise that he needs to keep. And just because of that, it's hard to really trust him on anything he does say, because his basic promise of I'll only run for 2 terms is now a lie. So what else is going to be a lie?
Right. And you know what? I've seen a pattern with Republican candidates. And I guess you could say probably Democrats too.
Yeah.
But But actually, no, Democrats never say I'm only going to run for X amount of terms. But a lot of Republicans that try to lean towards that libertarian spark, they say term limits, and then they keep going.
Well, and then they all
get that taste for
none
power.
of them vote on term limits either.
Yeah. So just so we're clear, I believe in term limits. I'm not running past 3 if I win. I don't want to be remembered as for like, I want like, of course I want to be remembered as a politician, but more I want to be remembered for the science and things that I was able to create to help people.
I like that. I personally think this nation would be better ran if it was like jury duty.
In what ways? Like no one wants
that
to
you
do
got
it?
a letter in the mail and it's like, shit. Now I've got to go to DC. Honey, I've got to go to DC for 6 months.
Yeah.
And you go to DC for 6 months. The first 3, you're getting, used to what's going on and whatever else. And then you're out. But there is a downside to that. You get what is called the deep state or the permanent state, then fully takes over, which they've kind of been doing anyway.
The executors.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jared has pulled up an article. I don't see it on our screen being
I'm not
shared.
sharing it.
You're not? Okay.
Oh, we can. It's
but
fine.
go ahead and just run down.
This just comes from Tucker Carlson's, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so on her January 6th commission, which that's also shady too, where she hand selected the other side who's on it. That doesn't strike you as you don't want to have a bipartisan look at what happened on January 6th. They want to make this the hill that permanently damages the Democrat Party. And I think they want to do that because they know, or permanently damages the Republican
that's what I
Party.
was gonna ask.
And they want to do that because they know, and I think they knew going in that Biden is going to permanently damage the Democrat Party. I think Buttigieg is who the Democrats universally wanted, but they saw maybe some upcoming turmoil with our economic status, maybe possible black swan this November, and we were going to leave Afghanistan. That had been already been in the works, so they put a sacrificial lamb in there. The lamb that you move to the center of the courtyard and slaughter to take the sins away for everyone.
I mean, I can see that.
And save Buttigieg for,
For
8 years from now.
Yeah.
Who, as a Democrat?
Yeah. Well, independent, really. Like,
Okay, so you're having a hard time swallowing the whole Democrat thing.
yeah,
you are.
Yeah,
admit it.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I'm just not a Republican, and it's a 2-party system. Independent is going independent is like going independent in college football. It's a lot harder to get recognized. You're probably going to lose, and you're not going to make it to the big show.
So let me ask you this: as someone running on the Democrat ticket, if you could have picked any of those individuals that ran for president under the Democrat ticket, who would you have picked? And let's just say you're the only vote that would have mattered.
Probably. I mean, he really wasn't in there that much. Probably Beto.
All right. I would have picked Tulsi Gabbard if I voted Democrat, but
Yeah, heartbeat, yeah.
At least he didn't say Biden, because right now he's doing a horrible job.
I'm upset.
Yeah.
I like what I don't understand about this whole withdrawal strategy. They knew since January that they were gonna pull out because that's what the deal was. Why have we not been working harder over this amount of time to get people out? Why is it all of a sudden rushed? Why don't we have a buffer zone run by American personnel? So I don't know, people can't come in. That the Taliban doesn't know how to do security checks. They don't.
Well, we shouldn't have abandoned Bagram overnight. The commander of the Bagram Air Base, the Afghani commander, went to bed one night and woke up the next morning and the U.S. had left. That was all his logistical support.
That could have been like a weird, obscure world podcast. Like they were abducted by aliens. They were gone just like that.
Yeah,
they did. They
what kind of a
deserted.
strategy
And
is
didn't
that?
they leave behind military equipment. I read like
Oh yeah.
the Taliban got hold of drones,
Oh yeah.
Blackhawks,
Apaches.
Apache, helicopters.
Black Hawk is a personnel carrier.
Okay.
Apache is an attack helicopter.
They left an Apache.
I only saw Blackhawk.
I think it was like 23 Apaches.
I heard 23 Blackhawks,
I know
Okay.
they left Blackhawks.
but
And
Pallets of cash.
10 of those Blackhawks that they left actually did make it to Uzbekistan.
Oh, sure.
So
what
some people got
what
away.
else is
on
the
those.
Taliban going to do with them?
Because they can't repair them if they break down.
You guys underestimate the Chinese.
Well,
now the
they
Chinese have a model of Black Hawk that they reversed engineered from
Yeah.
our Black Hawk. Okay,
Sure.
so what they have are technicians ready to come in and help the Taliban put these things
Sure.
together.
And
But the Taliban doesn't. The Taliban, they're more valuable to sell. They're going to just sell them.
They're gonna put these things back together with Chinese help
Yeah.
and put
It's-
themselves together in Air Force.
That-
China
that's
and Russia
fine.
are already recognizing the
Mhm.
Taliban as a legitimate government of
Well, they were the government before we went in.
yeah.
Taliban's, again, as a history nerd, Taliban's a very interesting story.
All the different factions. And things
I
like
do
that.
not. I don't view the Taliban as good or bad.
Yeah.
I view them as an outcome that we made.
That's how I view them too. If we
We built the Taliban up when Russia was there.
Yeah.
And the Taliban are born of the Afghani civil war in the 60s and 70s. So, yeah.
I agree that it is a byproduct of America's
Yeah.
attempt to spread democracy. You know?
Well, I don't know. Hey,
It was more to repel communism than to
yeah.
yeah.
ensure democracy in our Jeffersonian world of Afghanistan.
I've always pondered about America's ideas. We spread democracy with lead, depleted uranium.
It's like back
Enough.
in the day with the Crusades. Like we're gonna go through and we're gonna make you guys Christian by just killing everyone that says no.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the first crusade was sent against other Christians, the Cathars.
Mhm.
They slaughtered all of them.
Yeah.
Not a Cathar church today.
Never even heard of them. How
Either-
about that? They must have done good.
Yeah,
They've
that's
done
the
real
first
good.
time I heard of Cathar too. I'm like,
I'm gonna write that down and like go YouTube that when
me
I go.
too. I'm
Cathar.
a super big like
Good.
history. I love history.
Yeah.
So you're gonna run for Senate, the federal Senate.
Yeah.
Is there something that you want to accomplish, or give us some of your main points? If you did
let's
win.
go through
Okay.
that. The good stuff.
The good stuff.
Jared, do you have his website up? I think.
But I
He's
will
probably
pull it
got
up
one.
as we speak.
Yep. Nick Mitchell for Senate.
Oh, you go by Nick Mitchell.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it depends on if I'm in trouble or not. In trouble, I get Nicholas. There's a lot of Nick Mitchells. It's a popular name.
Yeah, I should have put in for Senate. Goodness, you got an IMDb and everything.
Yeah, and I don't know how tall he is, but
So
definitely not black.
did you file your paperwork yet?
Yep, I'm all filed with FEC.
Okay. Is the Democrat Party standing behind you, ready to give you some assistance, or
Once we get closer to the primary and I become the
so you got to fight your way through the primary, and then
prime-
they're going to promise you a little assistance on the campaign.
I would hope so because I'd be then the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate.
Correct.
So I would hope they would help me a little bit.
Okay. Here, pour me a shot of your fancy.
All right. Well, just so the audience knows, right here we have. This is a liquor that my friend gave me in Brazil. His friend owns
You're
the
not even
factory.
going to try.
The name?
Yeah, to read it. Not even going to throw an attempt out.
Carar Haida.
Good job.
That was close.
Success.
Yeah.
100%.
Anyway, either who.
So we're going to pull up Nick Mitchell here. We're going to share it on there. All right. So
I want to say thank you to Adriano for this blessed bottle here.
don't pour too heavy a shot for me. Just give me half of what you gave that guy. You.
Sorry, I am.
No,
All
you're
right.
good. You're good.
We're going to give this a try.
Yeah, we're gonna give it a try. But anyways, so Nick, we're going through your site here. So pillars. Protect the people. I'm here to protect you from the government, to protect your rights as American citizens. I will put myself between the people and the government. First Amendment. What's your stance on the First Amendment?
Freedom of speech.
Yeah.
It's in the,
What's your stance on it? Do you believe that there is such a thing as hate speech?
I mean, yeah, but words don't hurt me.
So
I've
you
been,
don't.
So what you're saying is you're not going to acknowledge
You don't believe
other
in
people
hate
who want to
speech.
attack First Amendment rights if they're hate speech.
like once again, how many times has somebody been killed by words?
That's right.
Words are words, and that's it. For example, I have Black Lives Matter on the back of my motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a stop with my son, like we used to ride together, but after this story, you'll see why we don't anymore after this story. He was with me. Some guy in a truck started yelling at me in Black Lives Matter, and he was trying to fight me, but the guy was like 5'10", maybe 190 pounds, and at the time I was 320. So
he was brave or stupid, one or the other.
Or
right?
he had a gun.
Or he had a gun.
Because he wouldn't get out from behind his car. He wouldn't show me his hands. And so so my immediate thought was gun, because I mean, if you don't have training, I'm not somebody you'd pick a fight with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just said, whatever, they're words. So I paid attention. I didn't pay attention to him, and I just continued to go down. And then he tried to hit me with his truck with my son. He acknowledged my son when he was yelling at me.
All over a bumper sticker that said Black Lives Matter.
Well, I spray painted it on my motorcycle, but yeah, basically. And
I don't care if you spray painted it on or, wrote it with blood. See, I'm against just violence. I have my own personal feelings on Black Lives Matter. I think Black Lives Matter is Al Sharpton's dream, to pilfer money in the name of Black people who are subdued and do not a damn thing for them.
And when I say I don't really tend to get behind organizations at all, because maybe it's not the person at the top, but somebody somewhere is lining their pockets with money.
There was 30 billion made by Black Lives Matter last year.
I have no idea.
I don't see
that much.
One school. I don't see one. I don't see a mall that is in the inner cities for economic opportunity. I like Larry Sharp. He's got ideas,
Larry Sharp.
Yeah. He ran for governor.
He's the most brilliant Black man in New York right now.
Well,
Larry Sharp.
Well, there's probably lots of brilliant Black men in New York. He's the most brilliant Black politician in New York right now.
Well, he's the only one on TV talking this stuff. So I'm
check out Larry Sharp. He's got good ideas.
He's a good guy.
I like Maj Touré. He's my guy. He runs Black Guns Matter.
I own guns, so
good. And he runs Black Guns Matter.
Yeah,
you should look him up. He goes into inner cities. He teaches them how to get a gun, how to fill out the paperwork, how to utilize them, how to do DS.
Visitor?
Something happened. Okay. Well, anyways, so Melon is doing its own thing, gentlemen and ladies. But anyway, so yeah. So anyways, so Second Amendment, you've just declared that.
Yeah, I have guns. I own guns. I've designed tech for guns to make them safer. But R&D is expensive, and I want to make sure that it works. So I made it about 3 years ago.
So you shoot yourself.
Yeah. So
you practice that one on yourself.
Yeah.
Too. More heavy metal.
You ever watch the guy who dummied the bulletproof vest on himself?
Yes.
It's a video of it. Old boy went for it. Had what was it, a 38? Did the old boom right in his gut, but he lived.
Yeah, that's a
I
guess.
bold
I
move.
guess I did the same thing with tattooing, so I don't really have much to say
yeah.
in the terms of that.
I would have went for a graze at first, just try to see if it takes some hair off the skin.
Yeah.
But anyways, of course I would have been drunk and I just shot myself in the face wearing a vest.
So to what degree do you support the Second Amendment, and where do you draw your lines?
This is probably one of my most fluid I'm pretty stable on most of my platforms, but this is the one I'm most fluid about because I'm a gun owner. I will protect the Second Amendment within reason. I don't want people coming out like that.
You lost me, and you had my vote.
You can already get tanks.
Yeah, but you're
Yeah,
right.
you can.
But it's
What about
expensive.
rocket launchers? I want privately owned nuclear artillery. I would never be able to afford it, but
I could see why you'd want it, because that's actually one of my points in my Second Amendment is that we don't have, as private citizens, it's not anymore about like numbers. It's not like you're a history buff. Back in, I was going to say Civil War, but Revolutionary War with George Washington and Cornwallis, they came from the same military school of thought, which is you line up across from each other and you shoot. That's it. Now it's technology.
yeah.
And we don't have the technology as private citizens to compete
Well,
with the government.
honestly, I think we're going to see our next wars are going to move from kinetic, and they're going to be cyber wars.
Mhm.
And we're already seeing that now with,
I would argue they're going to be biological wars.
well,
Out of Wuhan.
and I think you're right on that as well.
I got questions.
That's a whole nother story.
I got
Let's
questions.
keep on
about
track.
that.
I want to know about this
So
fluidity.
you're
Yeah.
pro Second Amendment.
Yeah.
All right.
The only thing that I have a problem with is, and I want to make clear why I have a problem with it, is assault rifles. I don't understand. Like, I get that they're cool pieces of tech, but right now people are using them to kill people in mass shootings, and that's what I'm trying to stop. And that's
hammers kill more people than assault rifles.
that's
Assault
true.
hammers.
But like you get what I'm saying.
Pistols kill, I think, something like 32 times more
right?
people.
And I understand
In America.
In
But
America.
assault rifles are sexy, so the news runs with it. So it makes
Yeah.
people who don't dig into the crime stats
Yeah.
think that assault rifles are what's used. Most mass shootings are done with Glocks.
Yeah, with pistols. But like the big ones are, because they can just hold bigger mags and things like that. But like, I can't think of a real reason. Like, if you can give me some reasons as to why you want one versus and what they can do that.
This right here is why I think you should.
And that's the
specifically it.
and that's the point I make in my long Second Amendment thing is that
I think assault rifles should be given at birth.
I mean, I wouldn't want my baby to hold an assault rifle.
And then I think dad should train the child how to
Okay.
use it.
Yeah.
But I think at birth.
It sounds like a Disney movie.
Dude, I like Penn and Teller. I want to give little pink pistols to every girl born. Imagine what the rape statistics would look like.
Yeah. Like,
There might be a little more gunshots. I mean, you would have to go Bill Cosby to get a rape on then.
yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry, folks. That was
Bill
terrible.
Cosby was released from prison
He
and
was-
blah, blah, blah.
Oh, he was guilty.
Bullshit.
Even admitted he was guilty. But
Is it
the
legal for us
prosecutor-
to say
Yeah.
things like that online?
Oh yeah, sure. We can.
If he
say
was
that.
released from
But
prison.
I'm just saying you would have to use his methods to commit the crime if
GHB.
every girl had a pink pistol.
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, if
Make sure
more
you're talking
people-
into the mic.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
If more people had more people had ARs and things like that, it would be a different story. But right now, that's not the reality, and so that's why I'm like,
Wait, explain that comment. If more people had ARs,
they could. So
He's leaning my way. He wants to give them to everyone.
I don't want to.
He wants to have that as your tax refund.
no
After you get raped by the government all year long, your refund comes in a nice brown box. AR. Matter of fact, on the bottom when you fill out that 1040B or whatever 1040, you're getting raped by the government. You got to check the bottom what caliber you want. And so every year, and by the end,
Jared's fantasy world,
have them all. So like right now,
every show.
I would be looking for 300 blackout because I've got the other ones covered.
Yeah.
But of course I could use a carbine model, 9mm.
Are the carbines the one?
Jared, the last thing you need is another fishing accident. So
I know I keep losing them in that damn boat. I got to quit going to the Rod and Gun Club. And why do I have to take all my guns with me? Anyways, go on.
And I like like we don't have the capability to stand up to our own government right now. We don't.
I would say that I'm wearing the uniform of guys that prove you wrong.
Well, I'm saying with munitions.
I am wearing the uniform of guys that prove you wrong.
Here's the thing.
Okay, maybe the alien shirt is not one.
That's what I was looking at. What's the
three?
This and this.
There's three things you need in order to be successful. You need the materials and the product. You need to have the education and the know-how. And the third is the determinants. Now, if there was an American uprising for just the normal guy with the ARs, right? The government lacks that third thing, the determinants. The soldiers won't have the morale, the heart, or the determination to fight back against American Patriot Wars 3. There won't be a determinant, and I honestly think the government would cave faster than the Afghan government did with the Taliban if there was an organized, real insurrection like the January 6th was supposedly. If there actually was an organized military assault like that, I really think, most of the children in the military now, and they're little kids. Look at all the kids that died in that blast yesterday. They're all like young 19, 18, 20-year-olds. Those are the children of the fathers who get pissed off and perform these insurrections. So, well, I really don't think that this huge lack of technology gap, this huge technology
honestly, I
gap
think the greatest
impedance.
weapon we have for this upcoming civil war is in my hand.
But they can cut that. But
you can still get a video.
Oh yeah, you can get
the video
but for how
is the greatest weapon
because they can cut
Sure, they can cut that, but all you got to do is have one person that videos it and releases it. And imagine if some people say to our government, "We don't like how you're abusing us," and our government sends a drone in and hellfires them.
Yeah,
and someone videos it. What would the rest of the world say?
That's a different story.
China, who would gladly kill their own people, would use it for propaganda. Russia used the civil rights when they sicked hoses and dogs on Martin Luther King and all his folks that were marching. That was Russia's propaganda arm. That gained them another 4 years.
Another 4 years of what?
4 years of survival. I mean, and then they had that vote in Poland in '82, and they were done.
I think Russia's doing just fine with Putin.
I should say the USSR. I stand corrected. The USSR, but the USSR, that was their propaganda. They smuggled videos of that out or got it off the news, and they played it nonstop in their country. Look at what America is, because their country would see our soap operas and say, well, why is this going on? Why is Leave It to Beaver have such a nice tree-lined street? And look, they have 4 rooms in his house. And what is he eating? Is that meat on his plate?
Mm-hmm. It's like social media nowadays, so everyone's only posting their highlight reels, and they're not saying those times,
That's right.
they're down in the dumps.
That's right. So
but you're talking about country versus country. Yeah.
No,
I'm talking about internal civil.
I'm talking internal civil conflict. That would be our greatest weapon, is the video camera.
But
the internet.
I would disagree, but we'll go on that on another tangent.
Yeah, I think that that's a completely different set of circumstances than if, like, honestly, I got to think about this one because, like I said, this is my most fluid point. And my point is that we are outmatched technology because we don't have citizens don't own private missiles. They don't own,
right.
military aircraft.
You're right. I stand corrected. No, we shouldn't give ARs at birth.
Missiles?
Stingers.
Shoulder
fired.
What about
anti-aerial?
Naval.
Okay, if you live on the coast,
you're screwed.
Cruisers.
You see what I'm saying? So, like,
we'll give a cruiser to every 52 children. So, like in San Francisco, you're born on the same day. A cruiser, this is yours. The babies, their dad teaches them how to run it. every guy in San Francisco knows how to run a cruiser. They can teach our kids.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty common divide between Democrats and Republican type peoples. Is the Democrat Party will, if you're following that schism, you're like, hey, look, we're outmatched. They've got F-16s and F-15s and nuclear weapons. We got what? AR-50s or AR-15s and AKs.
If like
The Republicans will come back and say,
hey, I don't own an AR-15. Not one.
Neither do I.
No, I honestly don't.
Either I don't. I have 3. I have a rifle, a shotty, and a 9mm.
Yeah, I sold my AR.
But the Republicans will say that yes, it can be done.
I lost it in a river.
And it just takes the determination. And I do firmly believe that after serving in the military, kind of seeing how bases operate and stuff like that, I think, it wouldn't be that impossible to, if the numbers were on our side, to put the government in its place if need be.
What's the morale in the military you look like right now, you think?
Oh, man, it's bad. I'm watching
That's what
Facebook.
I'm wondering right now.
Me too.
I mean, you heard Biden's comment after that last briefing he get as he's walking away.
Well, I'm just seeing
Sundowner
former comrades of arms and the posts that they put out on Facebook, and I'm like, dude, you look like you're suffering from a bad case of despair.
People are pissed. But Biden said we need to bring our boys home for things that are going to go on there. But anyways, we keep going off on tangents. Yes. We know Biden is suffering sundowners, so if they record anytime after 4 p.m., he's going to say dumb shit. So
you're fluid on the Second Amendment.
Fluid on the Second Amendment.
What do we got next?
I'm going to keep your email. I'm going to change your mind on that. I am going to educate you.
Okay.
All right.
I love data and I love education.
Good.
So
Third Amendment. Okay.
remind me what the Third Amendment is.
That's housing soldiers against your will.
Come on, Jared.
I know it's never been used.
Yeah,
but
that's
right
what
now,
I'm trying to think
you know
of a
what's
time.
being used today?
Airbnb.
You know what's being used today? Did you know that?
It is?
Because of that eviction moratorium, that lawsuit is being used today.
The Third Amendment lawsuit.
I know, it's insane, right?
Over the thou shalt
eviction,
not evict
house,
your tenants.
You outside of time of war, you don't have to house U.S. soldiers. They're using it today because some of those people who sit in areas that have an eviction moratorium are probably in the military. So you can't. But anyway, so, all right, but we could go through all the amendments.
Yeah.
We don't need to. What do you think about the 10th Amendment? That one is probably one of the most important. And that is anything not declared in the Constitution reverts from the national to the states, or from the general to the states.
Basically state amnesty.
Well, it means
but
state
separate nation.
state rule.
Yeah. Honestly, I think a lot of states should be able to decide what they want to do, and the federal government is getting it's controlling a lot of assets that need to be, like the main, like electricity and water should definitely be done by the government. Because if we look at Texas with their state-run, utilities, we all saw what happened. But like just for things that matter inside of
But
the
things
state,
like that happen also under the government rule. Happen when there's not a crazy storm too.
Can you give me an example?
California has rolling brownouts all summer long in San Francisco and Los Angeles, and that's federally ran.
Yeah.
Power.
So
or the fires that kick off because
of power lines.
Because a state. Actually, this is an anti-10th Amendment argument.
What's up? The deforestation or
the states
the cleaning
saying
of the
you
forests?
can't clean up deadfall. California has a law you can't go in and clean up deadfall.
But that's what starts.
And then
fires.
the deadfall starts a fire. So there's an anti-10th Amendment. The Fed should come in and say, California, you hippie rotten buggers.
Now, let me ask you this. Should I be able to sue the state of California if I get sick from the smog?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because of that law?
I mean,
that's a very good question.
that's a good question. And I'm not a lawyer. You might want to ask Mike Lee that one.
I would Go for
Well, you don't want to say that. Okay, look, revert, go back in time. Never say that. Never say, let's ask my opponent because I don't know. Never do that. This is my campaign advice to all people running for office.
It was a joke.
Unless you're going to be asking something weird, like, are your nipples pierced and do you grab your young interns by the bum? Cuomo, you old people killing machine.
Like, personally, what I think, no, but I would have to think more on the issue because you just brought it up, and I'm like,
it's a big
no.
question.
Yeah.
First, I think you'd have to judge whether it was deadfall that caused that.
Yeah, what was the cause of it?
Yeah,
and then if it may have been private land, it just
it'd get tough.
But you've got to have some sort of percentage of ownership on the sickness that you're causing, this pandemic of smoke from all that deadfall.
You are totally talking into my field.
I'm telling you that they've got to be liable for some of the misery they're causing me from all the pollution that my wife is experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have asthma?
She has horrible allergies, and the shit rolls downhill.
Yeah.
She gets right.
So I'm injured. I'm
He gets
injured.
yelled at. He's gonna have to.
It's like assault and battery,
He's
but without
got
the assault,
spousal
still
abuse
battery.
claims against the state that let the fire occur that made his wife grumpy. It's a complicated deal, but I'm sure there's a couple lawyers. We need to get a hold of Siegfried and Jensen.
Yes.
All right, so let's go into the arguments that trouble Democrats and Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
So the border crisis. What's your thoughts on that?
And that's still up, by the way.
I know it
our
is.
viewers want to see our pretty faces.
Oh, I don't know why you're lying. You might want to see his.
No.
Okay, so this has gone.
Matthew Jones says, and I
Nice.
and I get that too. But I was going to ask you a question about this. Don't they say, isn't part like this? I read somewhere that you have to say you'll obey every military order, even if it means going against
Unless
the
it's an
citizens.
unlawful one.
They leave a
But
little gray area in there. I
It's
mean,
all gray area. I'll tell you, here's how you do it. If you want a military to attack its own populace, there's a roadmap to do it.
Mhm.
And what you do is you take everyone from Texas and you base them up in the Northeast. And you take everyone from the Northeast and you base them in California and on the West Coast.
So they don't have any personal
So that they're outside of their element.
Mhm.
And then a riot kicks off in the Northeast and the military goes in and handles it. Those are all Texas boys. Well, the guys down in, the guys in other bases elsewhere sees their people being abused by the military. They're more likely to, if they're called up in wherever they are, to abuse where they are. Essentially, you quit using the National Guard for state response. You start using the general military. And I mean, it's a 3-year process, but you can make it happen.
Yeah. And so that was my one question is, so they do make you,
they make you take an oath, but they say protect the country from enemies, foreign and domestic. And come on, everyone's going to have a different interpretation of that.
Yeah.
Not to mention,
Look at Timothy McVeigh. He was trying to protect you from the IRS. So he blew up an IRS building.
And the ATF.
And an ATF building.
Because didn't he come from the whatchamacallit with the...
His Oklahoma City bombing, according to him, was in response to Waco.
So that's the one I was looking for. He was at Waco.
He was thinking the government was at the point where they're assaulting the public's best interest.
Well, and let's face it, Waco was done because the ATF was under fire for Ruby Ridge and was about to get their funding stripped.
Mm.
So they committed Waco to say, hey, look how good we are. And they killed, women and children.
But Timothy McVeigh took it to the extreme and actually blew up a building.
And then killed women and children.
Killed women, children, and all sorts of whoever was in that building.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'd be someone like me and Jared who just start a podcast.
Yeah, like I'm running for...
Yeah.
And you're everybody interprets this danger of government differently. And I think that's kind of one of the strong points about humanity is we all have a line not to cross, and everyone has a different line. and some people react differently when that line is crossed. And every government is going to have to protect itself from those lines crossed, just as the Taliban was bombed by ISIS, and we experienced that bombing the other day, and it took out a lot of our guys as well. I don't understand how I'm supposed to interpret that oath when it comes to violations of the Second Amendment. Like, what am I going to do? I took the oath. I promised to protect America. Am I failing at my promise to protect America by not joining an insurrection on the 6th of January and trying to install a new government that does promise to give us what is mandated in the Constitution? Maybe I am failing my oath, but maybe I'm not, because this is the way the system was built. This is how it's built, and this is how the people are voting. It's so gray. I would say our oaths to this country are so gray that they can be interpreted as many ways as the Quran is interpreted.
Mm-hmm. I want to throw something else out.
You're on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want some?
Oh no, I'm good. I just saw it in the background. And I was like,
He's got a jalapeno.
We should not go to war with people who wear itchy hats.
This stuff is pretty itchy, isn't it?
This is a bugger to wear.
And they wear this day in, day out through combat and hot days, cold days. And just so everyone's aware, I did pick these up back in like 2001, 2003 in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And we're standing in solidarity with the Afghans that are still rebelling against the Taliban. And we want to let them know that your fight is righteous. Keep fighting. Don't give up your freedoms. Fight the Taliban. Hold out. I would like to say God is with us, but I don't know. Freedom is the right thing for everyone.
Fight extremism at any cost. All right. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'm hoping that this nation doesn't go to civil war and balkanize. Actually, I kind of hope it does balkanize. I think we're too big to manage in any kind of feasible way. I'm not a fan of Democrats, because as you look across this nation, every failed city is completely Democrat.
There's not one successful Democrat.
Oh, no, there's successful Democrat cities. There's no failed Republican cities.
None.
That's a pretty sweeping statement.
Where? Do your research. Find me one.
Duchesne. I just came from there. They're having a hard time because the Keystone got shut down.
Duchesne is not even a city.
You said what constitutes
it's a town?
What constitutes a city?
Baltimore.
So you're saying
Michigan? Let's go. Yeah, the places that have the real trouble, the places that have
Texas during that storm that shut down power for 2 weeks. So that would involve Houston.
Houston's ran by Democrats.
Like
Dallas even has a Democrat,
and
mayor.
that failure was due to the storm. Not the
and
political.
That's a natural disaster.
What, could you say it was political?
I wouldn't say it was political, because it doesn't happen nonstop. Chicago. How many people got shot last weekend in Chicago?
Probably a ton, because it happens a lot in Chicago.
Because it happens every weekend. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, they beg for that storm that kills the power, because the people killing people go home. How about Baltimore? I mean, how about Washington, D.C., the city? How about San Francisco? How about L.A.? How about we can go on and on.
About the actions of individual people, not the actual
but
government.
It's failed cities. The government lays down policies that make the cities fail, that makes industry leave the cities.
All right, according to that definition, then what Republican city exists?
That's a pretty good point.
Because let's face it.
Then I made an unfair argument.
You kind of did.
Fort Worth.
That's in Texas, though.
Is that a city, or is that like Duchesne?
No, Fort Worth's a city. It's a major city.
Yeah.
It's Dallas.
So then it falls underneath my example of.
It might be too small to be considered a city.
But Fort Worth doesn't have a. Right now, Fort Worth probably doesn't have 2 murders a weekend. But no, it's the policies. It's the policies of the Democrats want to overregulate, overtax, and overburden. I mean, International Harvester, right? I don't know if you're a car guy.
I am.
I should say, I don't know if you're a truck guy
or
an SUV guy.
Yeah.
But International Harvester, they built the Scout. Now they always built tractors,
Okay.
but they were based out of Chicago, right? And they were Chicago's auto industry.
Mhm.
And the city and the unions closed them down. Now, International Harvester built a very popular competitor to the Jeep in the 60s and 70s. The Scout and the Scout 2, very popular. Those aren't there anymore.
Mhm.
You know?
So wait, they're still around, but they make farm equipment now? Is
Oh,
that what
they
you're
still
saying?
make farm
Okay.
equipment because that was centered out of Canada. You know, I mean,
So what we're
the
talking
Ford
more about
Diesel's
now
an
is-
International Harvester engine.
It sounded like capitalism to me.
Well, it's not capitalism when the government gets involved and restricts you. That's
Well,
that,
hold
actually
on.
when the government
That's a
gets
good
involved
question.
in industry, that's called fascism.
Jared, hold your horses here. Now,
Mhm.
now, this is something that always interests me: is the definition of capitalism from different perspectives, different cultures, different ideas. Nick, can you give me your perspective, your definition of what is capitalism?
He who has the money makes the rules. Whoever has the most, that's what people trying to get more and more money, because that means technically they have more and more power. And so just no holds bar, unbridled capitalism is just who can make the most money.
Okay. So the drive for the money is your definition
Yeah.
of capitalism.
Is trying just to make the most money possible.
Now, what if the environment that you're working within to make your money, how would you describe that in order to fit the definition of capitalism? Because everyone wants, every human being, every biological creature on this planet wants the resources to thrive and pass on to the next generation. But
Stalin wasn't a capitalist, and he had a very big house.
But hold on, no.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm no.
Now that the environment,
I'm not communist.
The environment we create as human beings to pursue that biological drive, that is what I want to focus on. What is your perspective of the right environment to pursue that biological drive?
I'm not really sure if I'm understanding your question.
Me either.
Okay.
I
thought it was crystal clear there too.
It's a complicated question, but
Yeah.
we don't understand exactly what you're asking.
You're saying that when a human being goes out into the world, he's always trying to get as much as he possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Now that world is created by our government, and the policies and the rules are set by that government to allow that player to go in there and extract resources at his capability. Tell me how you feel about the environment that these governments are putting these players into, and is there a particular rule that dissatisfies
The
you?
rough thing is with the government, the environment changes. You start something in one environment.
Mhm.
Okay, you start growing corn, and then the government comes in and says, "No, we only allow beets here," and that's where the government fails.
And I can't say that is capitalism. Can you say something like that is capitalistic?
For someone to come in and say you
Get
can't
up on
sorry. For someone to come in and say you can't plant something on your own land isn't right.
Well, that's what happened to International
That
Harvest.
happens a lot around the world.
Yeah, and I don't think that's right. As long as somebody is not being hurt, I think they should just kind of.
Okay, well then we should shut the government down because they're hurting a lot of people.
And that's why one of my thing is protect the people. One of my pillars is protect the people, because I know that the government,
Hey,
a lot of people
if I
mistrust
could
them.
get one Democrat in DC that protected the people, I would be all about it.
You're looking at one.
Just one Democrat.
You're looking at them.
Good. We need that.
I don't make sweeping statements very often. I don't make promises that I know I can't keep.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you this: I will protect the people. I promise you that. I will follow the data and I will do what's right. And that's the end of the story. If I say something that's wrong, I will admit it, and I will I will correct it. Not try and correct it. I will correct it at all.
I like it.
At as best as I can.
I like it. That's something we need. And then we need, I think what we need is, and this
I want
is,
to go back to your question because I really still didn't get it.
Okay, capitalism is the capitalism versus protectionism versus communism, and these are all the environments that the players are extracting resources within.
Mhm.
Okay, so you sound kind of negative towards capitalism,
But in
but
some areas, I'm very negative. Like things like healthcare, I don't think should be a capitalistic. It shouldn't be a capitalistic endeavor.
okay, let me expand on that. Healthcare is one of my favorites to tackle. There's only two ways to ensure socialist healthcare, and that's to enslave people.
got to have slaves.
You got to enslave the doctor.
Mhm.
How are you going to get a doctor to give the same service at Callio as you will in Magna? Do you know where Callio is?
No,
Do you know how many houses are in Callio?
I've never even heard of that city.
6 houses.
Where is that in Utah?
It's a town, yeah. It's on the southwest corner of Dugway prior to when you get to the bombing range.
Okay.
Well, gee, I've been working at Dugway for how many years, and I've never
You've heard of the
Okay, so I'm glad
maybe I drove by it.
you heard of the Callio Gate, though, haven't you?
Yes, actually, I have.
Then you've heard of Callio. That's
Okay.
the gate that leads to the town of 6 houses.
Okay.
How do you provide them health care the same? You're going to tax them and rule them the same. How do you provide them the same?
That's a great point. They would have to drive somewhere that's bigger, or
So they would have to,
they would have to
they would be forced to move,
like
but they're paying for the same.
yeah, but they wouldn't be forced to move per se, but they would have to continue what they're doing now because right now they don't have, I'm assuming, a doctor.
They would be taxed the same as the guy who has health care
And so-
half a mile down the street.
and if you look at my healthcare plan,
And then what if the doctor says, I don't want to be a doctor anymore?
then they don't have to be a doctor anymore.
Okay, what if all the doctors say that?
Then
What if all the doctors say, as they're doing in socialist nations, we want to go to this one where all of that energy I poured into getting this task
Mhm.
is bountiful?
What countries are you referring to?
Well, India,
So third world countries?
a lot of Canadian doctors are coming here. A lot of English doctors are coming here. Matter of fact, here in Tooele, we have a doctor, I think that is from
Like how
Denmark.
can you quantify that number?
Well, if you're going to go with the socialist system, obviously you're going to want to.
Well, I never said my system was socialist.
That is socialist.
Mine is, I think we should cap the percentage that they can make off of one use.
Okay.
That's it.
I like the idea of getting the government out because the more the government gets involved, the more expensive it gets.
It depends on who your insurance carrier is.
No, every time the government's gotten involved, it's gotten more expensive. Obamacare made it twice as expensive.
Jared, let's not dive into the center of the issue. Actually, Nick, walk us back straight to the beginning and tell me about your plan for healthcare.
Okay, so my plan is it ranges it's different in a couple ways. First, to incentivize new medicines being made, we extend the life of the patent. Therefore, they can also lower the price and more people can have it accessible, but they can keep it in their I can't say
Proprietary.
Thank you.
Would they lower the price though?
That's the thing.
Because it with the insulin, they got the patent.
They brought the patent $50 to $750
and
or something like that.
And they boosted it while they kept the patent.
Yeah, so that's the second part of my plan is that we cap the percentage that they can.
What if we just allow more competition? I would say
more competition is great.
Shorten the patent.
Let them keep going. I want to hear more.
Yeah, more competition is great. Competition
is capitalism.
Drives. Yeah, it drives down prices. But right now we're in we're not in a competitive labor market. We're not in a competitive market. We are in I can't say it for the life of me. It's MONOSOPY. I always want to say monopoly. It's like monosopy, which is there's one or two or three big players in each.
Yeah.
And they set the price.
Mm-hmm.
And so somebody above them has to come in and say, you can't do that. And so what we do is we cap the percentages because they're charging for 5 times the price for Tylenol.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
in the hospital.
In the hospitals.
Now, on that subject, if I have an app on my phone where I can order that particular medicine in a different country with Bitcoin, should I go to jail for doing so? No. Say that in the mic.
Hold on, is it
clear?
Is it Viagra?
No, we should. But the thing is, we shouldn't have to be going to different countries to get cheaper medicines.
That's right.
That's the main issue. And so, like that's why because healthcare isn't going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We're always going to need it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're always going to make money. It doesn't need to be a growth industry. It needs to be something that, and I understand. And so I understand people want to make their money in some ways. People, I don't know who likes pharmaceuticals, but pharmaceuticals makes a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And so maybe, instead of like raising the wages of the workers, and then like healthcare is such a complex issue.
I'm sure it is.
I just want to say I want to pick up an AK right now and go to war against a first world country. This hat is god awful. Itchiest, sweatiest monster I've ever worn in my life.
What is it made out of?
So this is what the
This
Pashtuns
is
wear.
made out of wool right
It's-
next to the butthole on the sheep. I guarantee it.
It's angry wool.
Special wool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right next to the butthole. I mean, this has to be, this is coarse and itchy and miserable. And I agree with you that our medical system is messed up.
Yeah. And so like,
I just feel like I feel like if we look at it historically, every time the government's gotten involved, it's gotten more expensive and less available. I would ask you like data,
Mhm.
I would ask you to take a look at how medical was provided prior to, say, the FDR presidency.
Okay, let me write that down real quick. So
Write it down. I would like you to look that up and see how much
you're going to get an
see
answer.
the average. Good.
You're going to get an answer. What was the question?
Ask how medical care was provided. Let's go right after the we want to go prior to the Great Depression. So let's go 1925, general medical insurance. Where was it provided? How was it handled?
1925.
Yeah. 25.
And to add on to that, look where it's going in the future, how companies seem to hold healthcare above our heads as workers because they can provide us the healthcare at a reasonable cost.
That comes from the FDR. Because FDR put a free pay on raises. So because companies still need workers.
Yeah.
And they still want competitive workforces.
And then some companies can also force you to get vaccines or pay a higher premium on your insurance. Look at the direction that's going. It starts there. Okay, you didn't get the vaccine, you get $200 more. Next, there's going to be this chip that can tell how much vaccine I need in order to prevent from experiencing viruses.
You shut up with your ideas. You're giving them damn ideas.
And that chip is going to upload every time it walks by next to an internet site. It's going to upload my health situation.
I remember watching a show with Michio Kaku where he said working at one, you know who Michio Kaku is?
I do not.
The Asian guy with the long hair that's on all the galactic scientist shows.
Okay.
He said, we're going to have toilets one day that's going to read your poop and tell you if you're eating good and living good and everything else.
Yeah. Do they have them? I think they do in Tokyo.
Oh, I'll bet they do. I'll bet rich people
they
probably
have
it.
something like that for animals.
Yeah.
For cats specifically.
So you drop the deuce and that thing starts chewing on it. You got to listen to it, work on it for about 20 minutes while it.
You just hear num, 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 num.
Yeah. I'm telling you, that's when you want to eat those heavy metals.
And see, like about force, you shouldn't be forced to get forcing the vaccine, mandating the vaccine is a slippery slope,
isn't it?
It's very slippery.
But don't you see the benefit it is for the government? Because once you mandate the vaccine, then you have to monitor it, and the only way to monitor it is through a chip that has internet capability.
Or then you have to violently inject it into people,
because nobody wants to get their blood drawn every day.
Yeah. Or when the new because we all know there's going to be boosters for years.
There are.
Well, you've got the Epsilon variant coming out of Peru right now.
The Epsilon, yeah. I guess this one is going to hit harder, but it's less.
Epsilon. I don't know. Erection variant, whatever it is. It starts with the E.
It hits harder, but it's less contagious than the Delta.
Ooh.
So
So it's
New flavor.
different.
That's
Mm.
not.
It's like
not
Dr.
good.
Pepper releases a vanilla next week, and then there'll be a boysenberry the week after that.
That's why we have to work on like world. If the world got vaccinated all at once, it wouldn't have been a problem. Like polio.
I don't
shut
think
down.
because people who were vaccinated still caught and spread it.
Yeah, because
Both variants.
Yeah,
Because the vaccine was forced out without the testing.
that's where. So like, I have an issue with the vaccine,
And it takes
has to do with
10
testing.
years to test them usually.
Oh, you walked into this one, Nick.
like it. I like I said, science is my thing.
What was
I love
polio? An 11-year testing phase before they, and then the first time they tested, killed loads of people.
Yeah.
And then in the 90s, when they tried a new type of polio vaccine, one that didn't leave a shot scar, it killed a load of people then.
Well, I don't actually know about this.
That was in India.
I didn't, okay. See,
That's why Bill Gates doesn't
Yeah.
go back to India. Or no, his is over the I don't know, something with girl genitals. I can't remember. But anyways.
and like in where they, yeah, I know what you're talking
Something
about.
like that. I can't remember. But no, but India seems, we go to these poor countries and test these out.
Yeah.
I don't
It
agree
never
with that.
It never gets
And
heard.
either way, I had
It actually happens in our own country too.
well, yeah.
Yeah,
We don't need to go into syphilis experiments
that's
tonight.
exactly
Well,
the one I
we
was
don't.
going to bring up.
We
I
don't
was
need
like,
to dig into that. I mean,
MK Ultra.
you know, we did the same. I have another show where we talk about this. No, but we did the same thing in Guatemala. We did the same thing. I mean, all over.
Yeah.
Syphilis. Our syphilis experiment was horrendous.
I'm I get mad like talking about
Yeah,
it. It gets
no, I
me
agree
heated.
with you.
I
agree with you.
yeah, and so it's definitely
And I don't care who it's done to. I just care that it's done. I mean, you go into MK Ultra, or as its initial name was Operation Artichoke, and the things they did with LSD and shock therapy. I mean, they did shock therapy. We handed that one off to Canada, though.
and this is why people have a hard time trusting our
I know.
government.
I know.
That's what I'm trying.
And
to
right
fix.
now, look at how New York, they rolled out this mandatory vaccine thing.
Yeah.
Who's that going to hit the hardest?
I have my answer.
The black community.
That's what I was going to say. But I
Gonna
wanted to hear
smash
yours.
them.
Why is it going to hit the black community
Because
the hardest?
Actually, it's the Hispanics there that are less likely to get the vaccine, but it's going to hit the black community the hardest. One, they have the numbers, and I mean, it's going to be like a modern apartheid state.
I'm not sure about that, but
Well, they're not allowed in. Okay, you're right. Apartheid is too gentle to say. It's going to be like modern Jim Crow. You can't go to this restaurant. You can't drink from this water fountain.
yeah, like it's. I just what I think is mandating vaccines is a very slippery slope that we need to be very, very careful about.
Well, and I think it'd be a good idea. And also, there's a lot of hype built up around a virus that 99.995% of people survive, and we exploded into this big of a problem. So that tells me that the people who exploded this, China, the media, and the government, had a different objective.
Yeah. I don't really want to talk more on this issue because I have
Sure.
my own personal thoughts, but
well,
don't,
you and I should get together one
well,
night.
it's I want to get the data I would need
Yeah.
is top secret, and I won't get it. So
I don't even think the data for this really exists. I'll be honest with you, Nick. I don't think America knows enough about the virus, the effects of the virus, or how it was designed. And I don't think we know. And the thing about the viruses is it's
I'll
just
tell you how it
being
was designed.
exploited politically.
You take a COVID bat and an AIDS monkey. Now, you got to get into the birds and bees deeply with this, folks. But a COVID bat and an AIDS monkey, and you put them in a cage together.
It's something about a soup bowl, right?
Of course, always a soup bowl. I mean, that's in
Yeah.
every. But anyway, so we've gone on now. You and I have different thoughts on, and now, of course, I am biased, so all of my studies obviously will reinforce my thoughts.
Yeah.
But
and
To lead
I
into
like to look at both sides of the issue.
health
and
insurance
gain it.
prior to when FDR put the pay freeze on
Mhm.
for the Great Depression was usually provided through Rotary clubs. You know, when you pull into a town and you
See
see
like Lions.
Lions
Yeah.
or Rotary Club or Elks Lodge, that's usually where it came through. So you would join a Rotary Club and you buy as a group, they would all go and buy a doctor. And they would say, this is our doctor, you know. And then they would also lend that service to the old lady down the street who's not a part of the club, but, you know, she's an old lady, a widow.
So it's private care. But we're also America in the 1920s up until I'd say about, when did we go off the gold
Now, it wasn't, we went off the gold standard. Which time? We went off on FDR, the gold standard for the populace in 39.
Didn't Reagan go off the gold standard?
And then it was Nixon went off the international gold standard in 71. But the first time was FDR, when FDR confiscated your gold at 34 or $28 an ounce and then brought it out for 34 the next year after nobody had it anymore.
And I'm talking about the 70s. It's
Nixon.
That's the one I couldn't remember.
How old are you, Nick?
I'm 30.
30? Okay.
Yeah. I'm barely able to run. So,
well, congrats for you for having the nads to do this.
Yeah. I dig it.
Yeah. And but like if we look at the how the country was at the time, it was a lot more small businesses, not these huge conglomerates. And that's why it's hard for me to kind of
which
compare
came
the
first?
two. The fall came at the same time.
Which drove the big conglomerates? Was it protectionism because the government?
I'm saying like Amazon and things like that.
Yeah,
like
Amazon. I worked for a company that, if they were in the same market, would compete with Amazon easy. Would probably dominate Amazon. The company I worked for, that company, I would say that in businesses trying to protect themselves, conglomerated during FDR, because FDR was putting rules down that made it so that you had to be big and strong to survive. And that's the government infringing on industry.
And see, but what I don't really understand is, like, for example, Mitch McConnell, he said like businesses stay out, but he's taking their money. How can he say businesses stay out of government? But then he's going in and asking, like it doesn't really, like, there's a lot of politics that don't make sense. It's all of them.
Yeah. I mean, why, you can go on it, Republican and Democrat, both of them. Once they get in there, I mean, you can almost track it. Look at what industry is in their district.
Yeah.
I mean, Feinstein's got some pretty heavy war industry in there, and she always seems to vote for war.
Yeah.
Pelosi's got some pretty heavy war and internet industry in hers, and she always seems to vote for war and internet.
You know what I don't understand is how these politicians don't have a company but become millionaires.
It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, that's my big question is, like, how are they making these flights back and forth? How are they having spots like houses to live in Washington, D.C. with $172,000 a year? I think their pay is now.
Hey, Nick, can I arm you with an idea?
Yeah.
All right. Idea. Open your mind. Now, aren't you happy that police have to wear body cams? Now, police are the bottom of the rung. They take the orders from their captains, who take their orders from their mayors, and then they get their orders from their senators. A senator is, that's what you're running for.
Yeah.
Do you not think that the people at the top, the congressmen and senators that don't have bosses except for on voting day, don't you think that maybe they should have body cameras?
Yeah, that's one of my big things is I want to be completely transparent. So if I win, this is my plan. I will say, hey, this is my opinion, and I'll put a Facebook poll out saying, how do you like this? And it's yes or no. And then, what don't you like about it? What do you like about it? I'll tweak it so it kind of falls in with both crowds. That way we can have a solution. And that's how I want to take things.
I wish there was more of a third party that was alive and well. I mean, the Libertarian Party is coming in strong. I think the Mises
alive
caucus,
but not well.
I think the Mises caucus is starting to change that, and that's because of the players in the Mises caucus and the guys who are evoking it and everything else. I mean, when you see a group mentioned on Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman, all these big popular podcasts all the time, they're going to have an impact. And so I'm excited to see what they do. I may join. still a question for this anarchist to join a political party, but because that is my political affiliation, is I am an anarcho-capitalist.
Okay.
I see government.
Nick, do you know what an anarcho-capitalist is?
I can piece the two words together.
It's pretty
but
easy.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. I believe the root of all evil lies in government.
I would think a lot of evil. The government has done a lot of bad.
I have a hard time
Like
finding.
I'm saying, not just United States government. I'm
All
saying
of them.
government in general.
I have a hard time finding good.
They're
The cow always
hope we change that.
the cow always has a hard time accepting. No, the cow
That's a
always
good
blames
one.
the farmer.
You should say milk cow, so that at the end of that, it isn't you're dead and served on a plate.
Yeah.
You should say milk cow. At least they get to
live for a little bit.
The
longer.
cow
little bit.
always blames the farmer in the end, doesn't he? Okay,
It does. No, I see government as pure evil
Mhm.
every time. I can't think of.
I'm gonna write
any-
that one down. That's a pretty good one. The cow
I
always
can't-
blames.
I can't think of a good thing that government has done.
And I can definitely see that, and I see like why a lot of people have that sentiment is because the things that we find out, like Operation Paperclip, MK Ultra.
It got us to a moon, though.
Yeah. I mean, it got us, some fancy new airplanes.
All right, hold on.
Um,
Sorry, Operation Paperclip. Real
You
quick,
honestly don't know what paperclip is.
is that where they took the Nazis? And
Yes.
Okay.
The
All right.
Nazi side, von Braun, Warner von
Just
Braun.
want to make sure.
Yeah.
So you're against taking Nazi space scientists?
I see Warner von Braun. He was a special case because he knew what he wanted. He's like, my rockets perform beautifully.
Now,
They
and
just
he,
landed on the wrong planet.
he also wasn't a Nazi
Yeah.
in his heart. He had, I mean, everyone declared himself a Nazi, but
It was a government at
Yeah.
hand telling him, you do this or
Yeah.
basically you die.
Mhm.
yeah, they also held his family hostage at
Yeah.
times during the war. But he was witness to slavery and to mass executions.
Yeah.
So
And
that's a confusing time.
and I'm not really talking about there was like 150, I believe, some odd 120-ish, and I don't know all their names, but I can tell you some of them probably did atrocious things,
Oh yeah,
just atrocities.
yeah. So
And then-
it's back and forth. So paperclip is, but we go into government. I mean, what do? Government, even Democrats, in their calls for socialism, are fascist. By the definition of fascism, the Affordable Care Act was fascism, written by the corporations. Fascism is when corporations and government work together for the benefit of the government.
Well, I guess more for the it's two big boys coming together. To
Yeah, but it's
squash the little.
according to Mussolini, it's for the benefit of the government, for the benefit of society, which meant the government. Which is why the fasci is the
I'm sure it was to the benefit of Amazon, Walmart, and all those other individuals
big-
as well.
The ACH
big
doesn't really
conglomerates that I
affect
brought up.
those that much. It affects McKesson, Pfizer, things
And
like
think
that.
I'd argue that it does affect these companies because that means because if they paid a lower wage, their workers would automatically qualify for ACA, and they wouldn't have to pay as much.
I
as all
don't-
sorts.
I don't think they care either way.
But now Walmart,
One,
and
I mean,
Target
the
are offering
ACA
full ride tuition costs now.
Sure, because the government is now saying we're going to strip the working populace of the United States and your kids. You've got a child, right?
Yes.
All right. Right now, the money that they handed out all last year by the government forced shutdowns,
Right.
you're not going to ever have to pay back.
Talking about the
Yeah, that $1,200
$12, okay,
couple
and then
times.
like the
all of that
what's it called?
boosting unemployment.
Yeah.
But the government, usually state and city government, the federal government didn't step into this, but state and city who sent people out of work or who fear-mongered businesses into closing
Mhm.
and then sent that extra money. And now people won't go back to work. Right now, the response is these businesses, which I agree is a good thing,
Yeah.
but I think for the wrong reasons.
Education is it's a whole nother beast, and yeah,
Well, and we need to get the government out of education.
we just need to make education free.
How?
It's all on the internet. Like I don't have how did I create the things that I
Oh,
created?
no,
I don't have a
I
degree.
agree.
It's all on the internet.
I agree, but that's where we've got to change the minds of the hiring people.
Yeah.
But how do you make like people with student loans today? Should someone who went out and got a job and made those sacrifices, have to pay for someone who went to college's degree?
Well,
How do you make the poor people pay for the rich people's stuff? That is honestly stripping the poor for the wealthy.
I could see how that.
No, it's fact.
But the poor can't go to college now.
It's in the statistics. Now, I would say it's fine if you want to say right now, but you know how you do it? Because every time the government gets involved in education, it gets more expensive.
Because I said, what drives up the cost?
Well, guaranteeing it. First of all, when they guaranteed student loans, the colleges says this is a windfall. We're going to offer a degree in lesbian dance theory. You know why they never offered that before?
Because they didn't have the teachers to do
because you would never get a goddamn loan to go to college to learn lesbian dance theory because the loan officer at the bank would have said, how are you paying this back?
Yeah.
Is that really a course?
No.
I don't think it is.
Are there courses that are ridiculous in college?
Well, define ridiculous. Like making money? No. Unfortunately, there's certain degrees that don't.
Yeah, and yet they are borrowing money to get that, and now they want us to give that money back.
Yeah. Give it back.
So is that not ridiculous?
With a profit.
So you're saying, do you want, can you repeat to me like what it is you're saying? So I'm not misconstruing anything.
Okay. So right now they want us to forgive student loans, which were guaranteed by the populace.
Because they were backed by.
So by forgiving student loans means the government pays off those student loans to the colleges who grew fat. Mm-hmm. When prior to that, in order to get a degree, in order to get a loan for college, you had to go to a bank.
Yeah.
And you had to say to the bank, I want to go to college for this. And the bank would say, let me see your high school transcript.
Okay.
And they'd look at that and say, all right, you look like you did get pretty good grades.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say, okay, what are you going to study? And you say, I want to do art history.
Okay.
And the bank would say, how are you going to pay this loan back? How are you going to make enough money to pay this back?
Yeah.
Just like a car loan today. Should the government back car loans? I would say everyone deserves to have a car. They need to have a car to survive as much as they need a college degree to survive. Right?
We have to look at something specific.
Now at the bank, if someone walked in and said, I'm going to be a nuclear engineer, mm-hmm. the bank would say, hell yeah. You've got the grades from high school to prove you've got the drive. You've got, the SAT score, which is also built up to evaluate loans and whether you can get into college, right?
Yeah.
Getting accepted.
It's not so much anymore.
But getting it.
I
know.
They kind of pull back.
I know they pulled back on that. You know why? Doesn't matter because
exactly
they are just giving you a loan to go to school. Right now, you ask the government, "Hey, I want to go to college." They say, "Oh, you want to delay your adulthood? Great!"
And see,
great. This sounds awesome. Can you do a keg stand at the end of your freshman year? Because that's our only thing we require.
And see, it's difficult for me to.
They do not require keg stands at the end of your freshman year.
I know.
The bank doesn't. They don't even need that.
The government doesn't either.
My math class, it was on the final.
Here's the rough part. Right now, if we forgive that college debt, you will be foisting on the poorest people, the blue collar worker who has no education, to cover the next level, the middle class and the upper middle class.
And
so you will be stripping the poor to give to the rich. Does that is what will happen? That's just realpolitik. That is actually what will happen.
Well, let's give him a chance to talk about his educational policy.
Yeah.
If you have something on that, I want to hear about it. It is definitely an issue.
If we look back at I'm going to talk about me because that's what I know.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm a scientist. Would you agree that's the stuff I'm doing is pretty cool and unique, and it shows that I'm intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
I barely graduated high school.
Okay.
If we had that same system where I had to go to a bank and ask for a loan,
they had a process for that. Did you know that?
For what? For
if you were a late bloomer, if you will.
Yeah, but still, it's and
you know how it was dealt with?
How?
It used to be free, even in this state.
GEDs,
your local colleges,
communities.
Your community colleges were your stepping ground, where you would go to a secondary school to prove yourself.
Yeah,
and then you would go to the bank for the loan to go to the school that teaches beyond that.
But then you still have to pay for the community college.
Well, the community colleges used to be cheaper or free. Most state community colleges were free.
I think Biden Didn't he come out and say that he'll start making community college free?
Sure, that's fine, but all that will be like it is now
Yeah.
is just a delayed adulthood
Yeah.
for people who aren't going to do anything.
I think school. Let me. I want to say this very carefully, and
And I'm not saying all college students don't want to do
Yeah.
anything, but the people who want to do something are focused.
yeah,
They move through. I have a niece right now who is moving through economics,
Mhm.
and she is graduated BYU and she's moved on. Now she's in Pennsylvania going to a prestigious, sorry,
Mhm.
a little bit of alcohol there, prestigious economics school. She's going to come out with a master's, and then I won't be surprised if she goes after a doctorate. But she's moved up and proved
Yeah.
herself at every step.
I don't find like I like I said earlier. I work on everything that I own, like my cars, my motorcycles. If they
Mhm.
break, no, except for wheels, I don't have a wheel balancer, and I just don't like dealing with that. But
And they cost a lot.
yeah, and so I just do I do my own mechanics. I didn't go to school to learn that. I didn't go to school. They didn't teach me how to shut down the production of melanin in the skin. They didn't, they didn't teach me the things that they didn't teach me that. I went online and I read and I
Mhm.
researched. Right now, school to me is kind of pointless. I don't really see the need
And I agree with you.
for a college degree. It's what it is. It's a way to keep the poor poor. Is a
And-
college degree.
And it all it is, honestly, a college degree is a piece of paper to signify you're part of the club.
Yeah.
Here,
Right.
here's an emotional little tidbit about college that I experienced, because I've always believed, college should be something that we should all be able to have access to, right? So I went to St. Rose College in Albany, New York, and I'm in a class. This was right before September 11th
in New
and-
York.
in New York, Albany, New York, upstate New York, not the dirty city.
Yeah.
But I'm in this college class, and I'm having a struggle. I'm really having a hard time with this class, and I want to be able to record it. And back then we had these really big things called camcorders, right?
With a VHS
Yep.
tape
Yeah.
that made a big
So-
loud noise when you
So
clicked
I
it in.
asked the teacher, "May I record this class?" And she got very angry with me. She yelled at me in front of the class. I mean, I felt like a naughty boy.
And now they do recording. They record all.
Now, if I had recorded that class, I don't really know what she was thinking on how that would like destroy the world or whatnot. But had I recorded that class, I could have watched it over and over again. And now we have the internet to watch classes over and over again.
Yeah, it's crazy. Nowadays they put classes on, like you can watch Harvard lectures on
Yeah.
on YouTube.
What do you think? I've like that's what I've been
Right
doing,
now,
so-
dig into it. You
Yeah.
can dig into whatever you're interested in. You can watch them on YouTube and grind away, but there's not that piece of paper at the end of it.
But why was I chastised?
Because back
As a citizen.
then,
because it's something
Just
different.
trying to learn.
back then
Yeah, it's
they
just
were
different.
they were protecting their environment. They hadn't been introduced to.
It's a way to keep the monopoly on education. That's
Yep.
And that's what I want you to
And
understand.
education
Yes.
education doesn't mean knowing something
No.
as it should. Educated means you know something.
Yeah.
You have experienced or learned a craft.
You're
or
a
learned thing.
gatekeeper of sorts.
Yeah, that's why
Now-
I say I'm a scientist, even though I don't have
Yeah.
a degree, because I have created
Because you do
something-
science.
Yeah.
Did Newton have a degree?
Well,
Pythagoras?
no.
You know.
Now to in the Pythagorean theorem and
You're not going to
the imaginary numbers you've
Yeah.
heard of I before,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Now the guardians of these numbers, they kept that knowledge so secret to themselves that if
he just dragged, I just used a name that I knew out of history. I know nothing about.
if the knowledge of the letter of the numbers I, the imaginary numbers, if that got out during that time in the Greek history, that they were utilizing that as a sacred enclave,
Yeah.
you would be executed.
Sure.
So
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of that throughout history. Let's look at. I think I've posed this theory I had to you before, that new means of communication bring on civil wars. We've talked about the Gutenberg press,
Mhm.
the telegraph. Both of those barely preceded a
Major clap.
30
Yeah.
years war,
Yeah.
United States Civil War. Right now we're dealing with the internet, and I believe we are in a civil war right now,
But
we
it's-
just don't know it yet.
Yeah, it's not. We're not fighting each other.
I don't think the
Like,
new
we're-
civil war will be a hot war. I don't think it'll be a kinetic war. I think it'll be done on your bank accounts. It'll be done on what they can get to through a computer.
Mhm. And they're actually, this is, so one of my big problems with our government right now is if you watch Facebook, they're putting ads about new ISP laws.
Mm-hmm.
That is not.
Uh-oh.
It scared me a little bit because
She should. Dude, that is 2 pounds of aggression, and there is a little stuffed rabbit that gets decimated by that dog.
My puppy, I have a he's almost 7 months now. He's about 70 pounds.
Oh yeah,
He's gonna be big. He's a pit mastiff combo.
oh dude,
He's gonna be massive.
that is an 8-pound turd.
Yeah.
That is huge. Yeah, but anyways, go on. Yeah, these ISP laws.
And new lines are being laid. If
Mhm.
you remember, Apple said no to the government accessing their data. So the government said okay, and now they're relaying a bunch of internet lines. And I'm $10 to donuts. They have ways to access backdoor data streams
Yeah, I think
from there.
I think 5 years from now, the only way to keep it, and I had to take off the itchy hat. That thing is rough. I am sorry, Afghanis. I stand with you for having to wear that gosh dang hat every day. That thing is rough. Anyways,
If you
no,
drink more of this, you'll be all right.
I think the only way to protect that is user encryption, and that's point-to-point encryption,
Yeah.
where you and I mean, like prison letters,
Yeah.
And when I say prison letters, I don't mean tattoos on your back. I mean prison letters, like how they used to do
handwritten, yeah.
cryptography and
Like
stuff.
all my science and all my secrets, all my formulas, I don't have them online. I don't have them anywhere. I have them on hard pieces of paper.
Yeah.
That don't connect to the internet.
Well, and we can connect to the internet, but it will be me and Dave and you getting together and saying, we're going to have to design our own program. So
Yeah.
Dave will do it. I'll sit in the side and brew beer because I know my place, and you whatever your strength is. But I know my place. I can brew beer. I don't know crap about computers.
Yeah.
But that's seriously, I think in the future, that's our only means to defend ourselves from the government.
Yeah, it's that's why, again, like one of my main pillars is protect the people, because I like I said, I gave myself heavy metal poisoning. I actually went online and on my company's like Facebook page, I did a paid ad and I told everybody about what happened to me, because also they use another type of pigment called Azo Pigments, and if you have tattoos, you've heard of sun bleaching.
So it's azul, like
Azo.
blue.
Like AZO.
Oh,
And they actually break down into some of the molecular, their aromatic amines, and they can create mutagenic and carcinogenic molecules. And when they break it from UV breakdown. So I went onto my website and I told everybody, and I did a paid ad that reached about, I think it was like 150,000 people.
nice.
And I blew the whistle on the entire operation. And I wasn't sure if I was going to actually continue doing my tattooing for a little bit, because I didn't want to purposely hurt people. And so I came to the decision that I will put on my ink warnings so they know what they're getting into.
Mhm.
But another special thing about my tattoo ink is that it blocks UV rays, so it doesn't have that UV breakdown, and so it doesn't form those carcinogenic molecules.
So you had to
Free
Yeah.
radicals.
it had to have two kind of process to it. One had to show up in color.
Mhm.
Well, three, it had to be able to kind of bleach.
Yeah. Well, I'm making another line that doesn't do that, so white people can just have a better class of tattoo.
Well, yeah, that's cool. Well, the same stuff, but you
Yeah.
have to figure out how to reduce the melanin in the skin.
Yeah.
So, and this isn't just for black people. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want a really vibrant tattoo and you've got and you tan a lot, this
Mhm.
might be a good idea for you to look into as well.
Yeah.
Because that's what tanning does. It causes more melanin production and skin defense.
Yeah. and that's like anyone could really use it. It's all it's safer now than when I first started with heavy metals. And so I just felt the need to let people know, hey, because I also in this process I found out that diabetes might be being misdiagnosed, and it's actually heavy metal poisoning.
Really?
Yeah. And
so you had the same so does it attack like your pancreas and make it quit producing?
It stores the heavy metal store in the pancreas. So when I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, I was at the start of 2020, I was like 330 pounds. When I was in the hospital, I was about 230. And I all of a sudden I had my insulin shot up.
And because your body wasn't breaking down the food in, your stomach got bigger and you lost weight.
Yeah. And I lost a ton of weight.
Yeah.
And this was all from the heavy metal poisoning. And
did it go necrotic, your pancreas?
No. Luckily, I had low exposure.
What about cysts? Did you get any cysts on your pancreas?
No, they didn't know. Well, because I left the hospital after 3 weeks because I'm like, they basically put me on ketamine and threw me in a room for 3 weeks.
They just get you.
And I was like, what are you guys doing?
Just in there talking to the gnomes. And
and I was like, I'm not going to stay here if you're not going to treat me. So that's why healthcare is one of my top things, is because, I have an expansive history in healthcare and I know where the pitfalls are.
I agree. There does need to be a look at healthcare. I think there needs to be personal responsibility put on the populace.
Yeah.
You can't expect, well, first of all, if we go to a fully socialized healthcare, what do we see at the end of that? Do they come out and say motorcycles are now illegal, or motorcycles, if you own one, you're not covered by our state healthcare because they're more dangerous?
Yeah. I mean, think about that.
McDonald's, or what happens if they force McDonald's to shut down? What happens nationally, economically?
Lunch. I'll get a lot of money back for my lunches.
But no, let's think about economically. I mean, the economics is an organism.
I view economics as a closed system.
I view it as an organism.
Okay.
It lives and it breathes, and if something dies, it has to be bolstered somewhere else or replaced. I mean, how many nations have fallen because of economic disaster, or how many uprisings, how many times have horrible things happen because of economics?
All the time. French Revolution.
Right. Yeah. Look at Chicago right now. The south end of Chicago is in trouble because there's no economic avenue for those young people.
Yeah. And that's where actually most I took a sociology class, and we learned about like social uprisings, and it's when young groups of men are unemployed, usually there is a social uprising that happens.
Unemployed and
what you mentioned earlier, determination.
And it hurts young women too. It hurts those young women in those inner cities. First of all, it drives them to crime, so they end up getting in trouble, which makes a male desert for those young women, which is why you have those young women being baby mamas to one guy. Like 7 of them have a baby with one guy because they're in a desert of that. That is also a resource. Just like if there was one woman and 500 men.
Necessarily correlates.
You don't think so? That all those guys going to prison, why they may have lost that affinity to pair bonding?
What I'm talking about is the reference of 7 baby mamas. I don't think that's an accurate byproduct of the prison, the what do they call the prison
industrial complex?
That's the prison industrial
complex.
Well,
I think it's a stupid law complex.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a hard look at what we determine as illegal.
Yeah, I'm for legalizing everything.
Me too. Get rid and
let's treat it medically.
Yep. That's what I'm about too. Because if you take away the illegal aspect of drugs, people are still gonna have to work.
I want the heroin to come from my pharmacist.
Yeah. I
want it dealt by a nurse. I want the pharmacist to have a special room for him to use it in, where it's a safe place and it's no clean and there's no more AIDS.
Yep.
And then on your way out the door, I want him to have a little booth on the right hand side or
No
a
more
little room.
overdoses.
That's no more overdoses. On the right hand side of the room, I want him to have a Narcanon office where the guy can go in and talk to a counselor.
If it's getting too
And on the other side, I want a job services.
See, you're gonna like my little community, because that's what I want to bring in.
Yeah.
Is basically, okay, you go on and do drugs. Okay, that's fine. At least here's a clean needle.
Yep.
Here's what we know is in here.
Yep.
It's not cut with fentanyl, so there's no chance of overdosing.
And if you rob,
it's harm reduction.
and if you rob the pharmacist, he calls the police and they do an investigation.
And
He doesn't call his
hitman,
his dealer,
and
they order him to murder.
Yeah, it just gets rid of, we agree.
Completely
on that.
I'm all about that.
Yeah, because
what's Mike Lee's stance on the war against drugs?
Mike Lee?
I'd probably nothing. Not like everything.
I don't know. I mean, I know Mike Lee's a friend of Judge Andrew Napolitano. Napolitano has the same stance I do, but Napolitano is a radical constitutionalist. Radical. He thinks if it wasn't written on paper prior to when was the last constitutional amendment, 1921, he thinks it doesn't exist. So, I don't know how Mike Lee feels about it. Mike Lee was
just going based off his religion.
Well, Napolitano's Catholic. Mike Lee's Mormon, but I don't know what Mike Lee's stance is. Mike Lee is, I don't know. I haven't looked at. I've never researched that. Yeah, but there's not many politicians with the same theory as mine.
Yeah. Well, looking at one.
Yeah. Well, once you get in there, you better get in there.
Yeah. We just got to work on your second.
Now there is another one. There is another one that had the same theory, which is what gave me the initial idea. And he pronounced this theory, I believe, on Donahue. And his name was Dr. Ron Paul. He's a personal hero of mine. But he pronounced this. This was in the 80s.
Right before the war on drugs started?
No, the war on drugs was in full effect.
And didn't it start? Oh, did it start in the 70s?
Well, it was declared under
I thought it was Reagan.
Okay, it ramps up. So narcotics become illegal in the 20s.
Like opium.
Yeah. Well, they're all opium. Fentanyl is an opiate.
It's derived from the. Well, yeah.
It's synthetic.
That's what.
Opiate.
Yeah.
But
try and bring back the nerdiness.
I mean, you've got opium, and then they invent heroin, and then they invent OxyContin is synthetic, stronger heroin, and then it just keeps ramping up.
Yeah.
And from what I've looked at, every time they've ramped it up was to try to cure the addiction from what was before, and it worked out great.
And just so I've been on fentanyl. I was prescribed it, and you can't do anything.
That shit's a beast.
You can't do anything on it,
and it doesn't take a lot.
No,
they probably handed you a vial of 1 million parts water and a 1/4 part fentanyl.
Yeah,
and it probably knocked your
I had
junk
been on
clean to the dirt.
I'd been on morphine for a long time, and they put me into fentanyl, and I don't really remember that time. I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, that's when touching the face of God, I suppose.
Yeah, it was a beast, and I went off the cold turkey. Don't do that.
Was it rough?
It was. I probably could have died.
What'd you have to do to cope?
I just laid in my bed.
So you went through the intestinal problems.
Yeah.
Did they tie you down?
No, I just didn't get it. I just knew I needed to get off of it, and so I have pretty strong willpower, and so I just said no more. And then I just dealt with it. And that was some of the most miserable time that I can remember. I was throwing up. I just every possible.
What do you think about psychedelics being used to treat addiction?
If it helps, I'm for it.
There's some studies coming out. The Army has done a study. And there's studies coming out, I think, of Harvard, which always studies weirdness for some reason.
Because they got the money.
Well, and also, someone's at the door. But
okay.
I'll go check.
All right, you go check. Tell them to go away. But I don't know anything about it. One, the strongest drug I've ever done was marijuana 20 years ago when I was in the Army. And
you were in the Army too. Thank you for serving.
no, yeah, I didn't do anything while I was in. And
Still- still-
thank you for paying me to see the world and feeding me and giving me a place to live and be a crazy person.
Yeah.
Anyways, but so I don't have the experience with it. I do have family members who have had. I've had family members who have had the most extreme experience with it.
Mhm.
You know, the ugly, ugly, ugly side of it. And but I am thoroughly convinced that our war on drugs is not helping.
It's proven not to be helping
Yes.
at all.
Portugal's done what now? It's a 17-year study where they have much better outcomes on every metric.
Yeah. Because if you, it just gets rid of, it would get rid of so much violence.
And also, drug addictions, I think, man, I'm going to go back to it. Given economic opportunities, drug addictions will slow down. They won't cease, but they will slow down. You've got to give a young man a job. You've got to give a young man opportunity. Young men need that to thrive. And I don't care, black,
young women too. Like,
yeah,
saying men, like,
but young
general,
men are the ones who are the most affected by all of this.
Because we have that stereotype of being the breadwinner.
It's not a stereotype. I think it's a natural drive.
That is also true.
I think it's perfectly within us. We have to. So young men are most affected by the drug laws. Young men are the most addicted. Young men are the most violent. Young men are the most whatever. We ride crazier on the bell curve, however you want to put it. But I think young men need that economic opportunity. So we need to free up economics, allow people to open businesses in these hard-hit inner cities. And that's what we need. We don't need it as much out here, but they need it bad in Rose Park.
Like, what do they need in Rose Park? Just
any economic opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't care. We got to quit shipping our manufacturing overseas.
Yeah.
You know what's needed right now in the United States? I found out lately. Brake cans. You on semi trucks, their brakes are run through those pneumatic cans. Yeah. Right. Those are badly needed. They all come from China.
Just because of our supply line, it's
line.
dwindled our
What
supply.
isn't made in China?
Yeah.
Electronics, because ours are made in Taiwan.
How do you entice your son and young kids of his age to go work in a brake manufacturing?
I've got my kid driving a semi truck right now. I entice it because I set that example.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's what it is. I'll tell you one thing. I would have a hard time letting him join the military right now.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I'm a veteran. A lot of veterans our age say, no way I'm letting my kid join.
Like, I feel like I'm not a veteran, but with football, I feel the same way. Like, I don't want to fight.
Yeah.
Like, no.
You kind of want to push him towards baseball.
Yeah, I want portion something that's
how about golf?
Yeah, just something that's easy on the
golf,
body.
My kid is about 6'1", 6'2".
Okay.
He was in high school when he was about that age, freshman year. He's probably 6'0", freshman year, probably weighing in at that's right. You're getting aggressive now too.
I'm not gonna cry about it.
I swapped, dude.
They wear this stuff for underwear over there.
I was about to ride a camel into war. The testosterone was coming up. Anyways, and I tried getting him to play golf. Now he didn't play football or golf. He likes board games.
Yeah.
Great. He plays D&D with Dave.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
And I dig it. Yeah, he likes that shit. That's great. I'm down.
Yeah.
Play D&D. You know what he doesn't do?
Drugs.
Never drank, never smoked, never did drugs.
Doesn't get into criminal activity.
We
keep him good.
Had I not joined the Army, everyone from my friend group spent time in jail, most of them prison.
Oh, wow.
Everyone. The Army saved me from that, but I'm glad my son doesn't need to be saved by the military. Now, the military, great experience. Mm-hmm. Loved every minute of it. Well, okay. Hated, but love in retrospect every minute of it.
Love, hate.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
You were in the Air Force. You had better food than us.
Yeah.
and sleeping.
Had a lot of better
conditions.
things. I won't lie.
Cable TV. Didn't have to force march. God, there was so much you didn't have to do. Anyways, but
Oh, just see, I was super close to joining the NUPOC program, so I was very close to applying to go into the NUPOC program.
what's NUPOC?
It's just this nuclear operations like branch for the basically they pay for your school. You have to go into the Navy.
Air Force Navy to run the ship.
Enlisted nukes.
Now,
Yep.
honestly, I think you should have.
I actually was looking into it, and I got hurt right around the same time.
Oh, okay.
And so
Well,
Once you're hurt, you're no good to them.
so what were you? Let's dig into that job. What were you doing at that job site?
Where I got hurt?
Yeah.
It was a trucking depot where they
Mhm.
came in, and we had forklifts.
So you're pretty much offloading, separating,
Yeah,
reloading onto something else.
Exactly.
Breakdown.
Yeah.
Like a brake packs site.
Yeah, that's it. And they would overload sometimes they split the
Mhm.
cargo. They overloaded it. The bar bent. I was the newest guy on the block, and I was the strongest one there. So they'd always have me go in and lift them up so to get it level so the forks could get in.
Mm.
This guy brought it up super too high, and I was yelling at him to bring it down because center of gravity, physics, all that fun stuff. And he whipped it super hard, and the side of the box fell out, and it fell onto me. And all I had time
Hit you right the dang head.
all I had the time to do was this, and it just like pounded me.
Oh.
And yeah.
Wish you had a good safety officer that day, I bet.
Well, the thing is that when I talked to the manager right before, and I asked him to not work with that guy because he'd almost just hit me with tires.
They should have pulled that guy and had him doing
And
I don't know, something else.
They also violated DOT regulations because he just came in off a run. And he shouldn't have been on a forklift.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
And so I ended up suing the company, and I got a little pretty penny from it. It was still just like because I had 6 surgeries. It was I had a heart attack, pulmonary embolisms, all started from this moment in my time. Because before that, I was a college athlete. I was healthy as can be, and then that happened, and my body just crashed on me.
Who knows where you could have been, right? I mean, like you could have been NFL or something.
Maybe not NFL, but like who would have known what I would have been doing?
Yeah. What degree would have you sported out of the U with?
Chemical engineering.
You were going for chem eng, huh?
Yeah. I have a funny story about
Dude, that's
that too.
big money, chemical engineering.
Yeah.
Dude, those guys make the only thing that makes more is nuke.
Yeah.
Engineers, they love everywhere. I don't care what industry.
Trades. We have to go through every.
Well, yeah, because they know mechanical.
Yeah.
Even though there ain't a one of them. I work with a lot of engineers
that know how to break down a car.
They don't.
Like every time I'm working on my motorcycle or my car or somebody else's car or something, I'm like, why is it like this?
Well, no, I'm not going to talk bad about you, gentlemen and ladies that I adore at work, but the 1/2 range.
I will.
But they went into engineering for the correct reason, because they recognize that they're taking a student loan and you want to be able to pay that off.
Yeah.
And engineering is, I think the only way I would allow my son to take a student loan is if he went medical, doctor, or engineering.
Yeah.
I think nurses,
that's medical.
It's good money, man.
Yeah. $34 an hour is not enough to take out a student loan.
Oh, $34 maybe to start. Nurses that I know, they're making a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Not enough to take out a student loan. No, the engineers making $55 an hour, doctors making somewhere close to $90 an hour. That's student loan.
Fresh out of college, chemical engineers average around $80K.
Yeah.
Because I was originally pre-med.
That's when they come out, their nose is still runny. They have a skip in their step and they're not broken by the industry yet, and they're making $80K.
And that was probably back then. I mean, the chemical engineers I know, that's about the average wage for start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Dugway, I think the chemical engineers make about that to start.
Yeah.
I do have to ask you about Dugway. I got some memories from out there.
I don't remember anything about Dugway.
Oh, man.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
There was a couple dudes out there that you're like, anyways, but no. All right. So Man, we did not.
Let's give him what. Let's start wrapping it up. The
Yeah,
poor
we
guy.
got to wrap it up.
He's made it to 7 o'clock, and we started
2
at
hours.
5.
So give us your spill. We went through. I mean, so far I like what you got. Now I have nothing against Mike Lee, so I would not have a reason to vote for or against him. But you've given me no reason to vote against you at all.
Oh,
of course, I don't vote, much to the chagrin of my co-host.
You should vote for me.
I know. Plato said that you should get involved in politics, otherwise the dummies run it. But I refrain from it because it's my one little protest I have.
Yeah.
I've held a sign outside my house. No one saw it, so I'm too poor to go anywhere and hold a sign official.
Yeah.
But anyways, go on.
So what makes me different than Mike Lee is I genuinely care about people. I really do. I want to do what's best for people. I want to just help, and I'll do what's right. Also, I just really want to protect people. Honestly, it's ingrained in me almost to be the protector. And like I said, like not very many people would call foul on their own invention and say, listen, this industry has been lying to you. And where I stand to make, as you said, I can corner the market for dark skin. I can corner the entire market in tattooing. And I don't know, like for a while, I didn't know if I was going to. That kind of shows my integrity of what I'm willing to do to do the right thing. And that's all I want to do is the right thing. And I believe that Mike Lee wants to do what's best for him and not his constituents. He wants to do what's best for himself. And that's not what politicians should be about. They should be about helping their constituents, helping the people.
What about party? Now
in my dream world, there is no parties.
Here's a tough one. When you get in there as a junior senator, the party is going to say, this is what you have to do, or you don't get any seats on anything you want to do. We will shun you.
Then that's I
think how they maintain control. What's that chick Green or whatever? And
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah. That's what's been going on with her. I mean, they come after her for something she said, 10 years ago? She's a freshman right now.
She also has said some other things that are out of pocket.
But hasn't Maxine Waters?
No, not Maxine.
But comparing
Maxine just last year was calling for violence during court proceedings, which may get a possibly guilty officer released from jail.
Who?
What's his name?
George Floyd guy.
Chauvin.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
What Maxine did may get him released from jail.
That I don't.
He's going to get released. There's no way.
I really hope he does not. But then the federal government's going to come after him. But
it doesn't matter. But first of all, I don't want anarcho tyranny.
Yeah.
Which is if the federal government doesn't see what they want to happen, they go after that. They only punish one side, not the other.
Yeah.
That's when you start reaching an area when there's the only option is violence. I don't
think violence is ever an answer to anything.
But that's the only option. If your government is jackbooting you, is holding you down, and that's how people are going to feel if they feel like the courts are lost. What do you think about the Supreme Court telling Biden it's unconstitutional to put in a moratorium on evictions and him doing it anyway? It's happened a few times before.
Yeah, I mean, that's there's checks and balances for a reason. And I know that he has the power to do an executive order, but he would need a supermajority. It would need a supermajority to shut it down, which wouldn't happen.
What do you think about the Trail of Tears?
That's a swing from the topic.
It's the exact same thing, though.
Is it?
That was a president telling the Supreme Court, you can't control me.
Well, also during that time, the Native American community was largely disparaged as they are today.
Sure.
And so
But that was about a president. When the Supreme Court said you cannot move the Cherokee out of Georgia, and a president said, "Stop me."
That's when people like me need to step up and say that's not right.
People like you tried.
Well, not enough, because people need
But
to do what's
Jackson,
right.
actually, Monroe was the commander in chief.
Yeah, but enough people that he needed.
But that's why I'm saying the president should not have authority over economics. He's the commander in chief and the executor.
Yeah.
But he committed an action where he exercised authority.
How many times did Trump sign an executive order?
Lots of times, and I bitched about every one.
I don't keep track of
red flag
people's
laws
executive
when he
orders.
signed that.
Yeah.
Oh, I lost my.
So you're
mind.
just upset at any type of.
I'm upset at you. Okay.
Like where's your anger coming from? Where's this hate fire coming from?
Where's my hate coming from? It comes from my soul, the lower gut.
Yeah.
Really, honestly, I eat a lot of grease and heavy fats. No, it's my anger is that desk that they sit at should not be. It should not be an area where they dictate our lives. It can be a pulpit, but it can't be a gavel.
I get what you're saying now. So, but I get it now. Okay.
So we have our authority is declared along the lines to try to give the best survival to this budding republic. Some really intelligent men, studied men who studied, ancient Greece and studied, what France was doing and everything else, studied the Magna Carta, designed this. And guys before them, I mean, you go to George S. Mason, which was the guy who wrote what led off to the Bill of Rights. He wrote a Bill of Rights for Virginia like 20 years before, and it almost mirrors it. These are they understand what do we have to do to make a government that allows a free populace but moves forward.
Yeah.
And when say a president steps outside of that framework, or a congressman forgets what their job is, such as they have with the declaration of war, our Congress, where have they been?
Nowhere. That's one thing I don't.
What are we
understand.
talking? Last time was 1945.
Yeah.
Do we have to get to 2045 before Congress starts doing their job?
I hope
they're the
not.
purse. The Senate is the laws. The president executes what they say. The Supreme Court judges whether it is legal and binding.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to respect what the Supreme Court is and what they say, because that's what holds the Supreme Court kind of holds a sense of integrity and honesty in a nation.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court is the weakest link in the checks and balance system.
It is. And it should be something that holds your integrity and honesty, should be something that is glaringly easy to break, because it makes you more devout to that ideal.
It's an interesting point.
You don't want to make something that holds you together made out of steel. You want it made out of toothpick, because you want to make people hold a standard to keep that toothpick alive, not them flail around so the steel gets tested.
Yeah. I like that analogy. Because when something is weak, you have to protect it.
Yeah.
Versus when it's
been broken a few times.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the time of Grant. Jesus, we went from 7 Supreme Court justices to 15 to 12. Also, he could get crazy laws to punish the South through.
Yeah.
Think about that.
I'm not big on big changes like that being done anyway.
But we just had a war.
Yeah.
They were evil.
But once somebody can do it against
Grant's
never mind.
Grant's my favorite presidential time to study. That's where the word lobbyist comes from, is Grant. because he used to hang out in the Washington, D.C. hotel lobby so he could take bribes.
See, that's not okay. Like,
It's not.
at all.
And now they've got a name called lobbyist.
That's why we should wear cameras
Body
for
cam.
our
Cameras
representatives
and they should look like a NASCAR driver.
with all their sponsors on there.
All their
sponsors,
well,
yeah.
I disagree greatly with the Republicans on campaign donorship being free speech. I don't think that corporations should be able to donate. I think that donations should come from populace, and I think I would put a max amount on it at say $400 from each person.
Mhm.
And that's how I see it. And that's how it should be. And that way your promise wouldn't be to, what's a big Salt Lake company? I don't know, Deseret News or whoever. Your promise would be to Nancy down the street who calls the fire department to get her cat out of the tree 3 times a week because, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how I think it should be.
And that's what I want to do.
But I think industry should be an off limits unless they're abusing the people from government. I think government, corporate tax is retarded. Yes, I said the word for everyone who yells at me for saying the R word. Corporate tax is retarded. You can't tax a corporation. They can either pay their people less or charge more for their product, but they don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
That's all they do. Well,
The government doesn't really care about those
as
side
long as they get
effects.
their money.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to bring in is more of a bit of a heart. And I hope you guys pick
Good.
up on
No, I dig it. And I like you. You got a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
I like that.
I try.
Good. All right. We do have some comments.
Let's breeze through them here.
All right. Oh, Betsy says that's why the government wants us divided because it will need us to be fighting, to be us fighting us. And I think you're right. They gain a lot of power when we fight each other.
When they're
Same,
divided as a country.
same with the media.
I'm trying to bring us together. That's
Good.
my goal. Because I forgot to tell you guys, I was adopted. Did I tell you I was adopted by a white family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
But
no.
I was adopted by a white family, and so like I have, in certain circles, have been afforded white privilege, and so I know what it looks like.
And I don't want to see any privilege.
Yeah, and that's what I would like to see. I just want everyone just equal.
Yeah.
That's all. Like,
yeah. I come from the 90s, and I remember you might remember some of the 90s, but remember the 90s when they were like a new movie came out. Who's in it? It didn't matter if it was Will Smith or whatever. The movie mattered.
Yeah.
And nowadays we're back to where color matters. And now it's being driven by the black community. They're driving that separation, and that's another reason why I don't like Black Lives Matter. I'm not sure if
it's being driven by the black community.
Okay, I should say being driven by the spokespeople for the black community. That's scaring me when Harvard has 3 different graduations so they can graduate.
That's unnecessary.
That is horrible. We're all people.
Yeah.
We're all equally able the same. I mean, some people are born with disabilities that they or earn one over time, but I think that humanity is the same. Personal feeling. I do think that some cultures differ, like an inner city culture where the father is stripped from the home is not going to have the same values as a country culture that has intact parents.
So you're saying stripped from the home by the prison industrial complex, or
not just that, but maybe by economic circumstances, maybe because there's a male desert. That's a study. Jonathan Haidt did a study on male deserts in inner cities, which, yes, the home of that, the heart of that is the war on drugs, but it causes a male desert. Okay. All right. Betsy says, now Betsy, I have to say she has direct contact with pharmaceutical companies from her past. She was an executive at one.
Okay.
A drug only lowers in price when a generic is made available by the release of the patent.
And that's why I would lengthen the time of the patent and then cap the amount. And so they can only make.
What if you shorten the time of the patent?
Then
Now that may cause people to not want to
Research
invent.
That's what I'm trying.
That's another, and that's where a lot of our insurance comes from.
Yeah.
Hans Hermann Hoppe wrote a lot about. He says if America didn't pay the prices they do, we wouldn't have Viagra, we wouldn't have statins, we wouldn't have any life-saving medication.
Yeah. And that's
he wrote about
that's what
that.
I'm trying to drive is
Well, that's a complicated thing to tackle, isn't
yeah.
it? To maintain that patent.
That's the chicken or the egg theory, as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned. It is the balance between the populist versus the capitalist versus.
What's the way you do that? Do you release it or do you?
I
don't know.
There's no right way for this.
I would honestly
I don't think there
say.
is.
I would honestly
It's
say
difficult.
testing. Find two companies that are doing similar things, and you've got to test it. We need to have that.
But I mean, it's
melting
basically
pot of ideas.
It's like the company with the lowest price people are going to go with, and with I think Maggie's talking about insulin.
Yeah.
Like the insulin, I was reading
That
how
is-
the insulin was. There's three main. Once again, we're talking about that market where it's not competitive. There's only three
Mm-hmm.
major players in the game, and so one raises their prices, the other one will raise it a little bit lower, and the next one will raise it a little bit lower.
I would almost bet that they operate like a cartel behind the scenes.
And so one of my big things is put a wall in between medicine. I forgot to say that. Put a wall in between medicine, like the hospitals and the pharmacies and the pharmaceuticals and the insurance.
Don't let them
talk.
Don't let them argue prices higher.
Yeah.
I like that. And in a way, something government has done well is I like that Canada and Great Britain, I like the way they have argued for price caps.
Mhm.
I do like that. But then again, there has been some screw ups in that too.
Yeah.
I think it's a case by case basis. I don't know what the answer is. Do we want the invention? Yes. Will we stifle the invention if we force them one way or another? Or I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that.
Yeah.
That would be, I would say, do it as small as you can on a small study as you can, where you go.
I don't think there is a right answer for
You would
this.
have to
Yeah,
negotiate with the
You're
pharmaceutical
bending
companies.
somewhere. You're
Yeah.
bending somewhere.
Like right now would be an ideal time to look at this COVID vaccine and say, Moderna and Pfizer, you guys, I would like you to please try operating in two different ways. I want to see what it looks like.
Like a nice little case study.
Yeah.
And like one of the argument, like not an argument, we were talking, and I said I was talking about healthcare for everybody, and I was like, let's just give it a chance. Let's do a 10-year experiment.
I would rather
see if it works. If it doesn't, we go back to our original system.
The problem is you collapse the original system, you'd have to rebirth something else. But I would rather see we try out a healthcare for every. If we had to go one direction, like extreme theocratic right or to this hippie left, I would rather see the hippie left, even though it's proven through history it's the most deadly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 80 million in China and 40 million in Russia can't be argued. The 19th
that's
century
also done by the people in power.
Sure, extreme left is the communism works for 6 people. It doesn't matter how many people's in your populace, but it works great for 6 people. If you have 300 million people, 6 people are living high on the hog. If you have 6 people, 6 people are working it out.
Yeah.
But that's it. But I would I don't know if you could get them. I mean, right now where it's provided for everyone, but if you could get them to try their models on people somewhere, I don't know, find a way to make it so people have to buy it, have to make it, and figure out. I don't know how to figure it out, but I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
Free market. You're going to have an app on your phone, you buy it with Bitcoin, and it comes in from China.
I like it. I'd rather buy it with sexy photos on OnlyFans.
Oh, they're getting rid of that. So
Actually, no,
they're not. They came out. And
they
said they're
backed out.
Oh.
OnlyFans sat down and said, how many people do porn on our site? 98%.
My prediction is the credit card companies will cut them off and they'll just go to cryptocurrency. That's my
maybe.
prediction. I'm just saying.
Maybe
Because
they
there's a
might,
way to just upgrade everything.
but I would argue they will probably have an ability to go through a different vendor too. a different ability. Like MasterCard is
They might have to up their prices.
MasterCard, the one who pushed it. But I mean, like right now, like I pack a Visa that's tied to my bank, and anywhere I pay something, I can opt. Do I want to do it through the Visa system or do I want to do it through the bank?
Mm-hmm.
And I have different protections through the Visa system, but I have more anonymity through the bank.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, I'm sorry, Maggie. That is rough.
That is, Maggie. I'm sorry. Medicine is just such a tough issue because there's so many working parts. But the first thing is we just got to separate the hospitals, insurance, and pharmaceuticals.
I would rather see go full on statist insurance than to see people die on the vine like that.
Yeah.
So, and I am against single payer healthcare, but versus something like that, I'd rather see. And it sounds like that dink who did it just to be a dink.
Mm-hmm. Like I have to take Eliquis every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I understand about having to have, because like I went off Eliquis twice and I got pulmonary embolisms each time. So like I'm stuck.
So you have to take that. So if some jerk face who's like a
Martin Shkreli type.
Yeah. He's a dink. He doesn't know anything about insulin. He just owns the company.
Yeah.
If he just wants to be a jerk, he can come out and really affect your financial future.
Yeah.
Unless you can buy it on the app with Bitcoin from China.
Buy it on the app with Bitcoin, or I say release it. I would like to see your local pharmacist be able to mix up a batch of insulin in his back room.
There's a couple people that are working on distilling insulin at home.
Figuring out through pig blood and stuff. Yeah, I've seen that. There's been people working on. Well, I like to watch prepper community stuff, and there's people who are like, when the end comes, I'm going to know how to fix diabetes. You know? Me, I'm like, I've got 75 pounds of toilet paper. So.
Here's a little tidbit. I like to research on YouTube on how to make penicillin.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, there's not a lot of videos out there.
I know.
It's orange.
There's not.
Orange.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of refinement to that process.
You still have to work through it.
And I think I might have found one or two videos that might be able to actually put me on the right path, but everything else just doesn't exist. And it's such
that's an interesting.
Why are there not a lot of videos like that on YouTube? I don't know. You might want to find out.
It may be a lot of people. I don't know. That's a good one. All right. I shouldn't have, Maggie, again, I shouldn't have to choose between feeding my entire family or keeping my daughter alive. We all agree. Mm-hmm. A heroin user can go to the pharmacy and get clean needles for free. Narcan can be
free needles.
Well,
you can buy them online too. I take that back. You can. You can.
You can get them. I would. The reason anyways, let's keep reading before. If you have a family member that is a heroin addict, you can have Narcan for free to keep in your possession to save your family member in the event of.
I think overdose. every human being should carry or have Narcan in their immediate.
You should treat it like first aid,
like defibrillator,
like getting a first aid.
Break glass if necessary.
Yeah. Well, I think you should go out and try to obtain it and just put it in your glove box.
Exactly.
If you see something, you can.
It's pretty sad when your state of society is like, we should have Narcan on every lamppost in the street. I mean, come on. I mean, what kind of a functional society are we going to have if I don't know.
I agree.
I'm being negative here, but
I agree, but it's already there. And what kind of functional society do you have when you have more people in prison than North Korea?
I didn't say you had to put them in prison. I'm just saying.
That's scary. I mean, not that North Korea isn't a mass prison.
Yeah.
So let's find a different country. You know, the most violent country right now in the inner city is Brazil. What kind of country do you have if you have more inmates than Brazil? That's just we want to be a free country. We want to be the idea for the world. We can't have so many prisons.
Yeah. It's the truth.
Well, they do let the prisoners out on holidays in Brazil, so.
Oh, see, really? Brazil beats us again.
But I don't know if they come back.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, well, they don't come back.
They let them out on holiday, though.
I know, it's crazy.
I don't know. I would petition to have more holidays. Prison doesn't sound too bad.
I actually have a prison reform bill that I want to.
We got to have a
do.
Brazil show. We'll get
Yeah,
some
we do.
Brazilians on.
We do. Type 1 diabetics need a prescription for needles.
That's what I was. That's what
That's
I was saying.
insane.
Like, because, yeah,
Oh,
You need too many prescriptions in America for too many things.
too much
It seems-
control. Too much control. We need to do away with the way we categorize drugs. Prescription for needles. That is pure crap. If you ask me, we all agree that is not what they start at. Okay. So she's talking about nurses now. Nurses do not make good money. I have a cousin is a NICU nurse and has been for 12 years or so. She barely makes $34 an hour.
It's location, I guess.
Yeah,
Location,
And it could be
location,
traveling
location.
nurses make a lot more, but then
that's
again,
what I was thinking of.
they can't build the family that
And you got 2-year degree
engineer-
nurses. You got 4-year degree nurses. It's
I think to get a degree in nursing, to become a certified nurse is at least a bachelor's, and then they have extra school.
So,
above
yeah.
that.
no, you have 2-year degree nurses. But I know in the government they start nurses out at
To be
GS11.
I don't think you're a registered nurse at 2 years.
and RN.
I'd have to.
I have no idea.
I know. They have 2-year and they have 4-year. I know that
Mhm.
much. But I know in the government they start them out at GS11. I don't know. It's a livable wage,
Sure.
What's GS11 wage?
like 60,000-70,000.
Okay.
That's definitely livable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not engineer or doctor level livable. But honestly, and still, okay.
Depends on
so
what your living standards are.
would I be? Yeah, that's true.
Engineers make about the same as maybe a little bit more than nurses, but not much more.
Yeah. And they don't have blood squirting on them.
Oh, come on.
That's why I stopped. That's like I said, I was
You get your
stop me from being a doctor.
you get your arm caught in one of those big giant mechanical gears
Yeah.
and tell me it's
The engineers do not come down to witness me getting hurt.
They don't.
The engineers sit in the
All right.
office and say, "Call me on the radio when you get this all figured out, lead man."
Yeah, that's that.
Anyways,
That's accurate.
type 1 we went through all this. Okay. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Take a look at Nicholas Mitchell. His website will be in the show notes. Nicholas is he's a cool dude. I like him. I can see myself hanging out with him, drinking with him, and trying to get him to be a role model to my my young nephews and nieces. He seems like a stand-up guy, and I really
Thank
like that.
I really appreciate that.
and Nicholas, we got September 11 coming up. I got
Yeah.
here a couple of souvenirs for you. Check
Thank
these
you.
out. These little never forget stickers.
Oh, thank you so much.
He's
I
a-
appreciate that.
He's a sticker maker.
Oh,
Graphics, design.
Yes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it.
Everyone,
Thank
thanks
you
for
for
Hidden
joining us.
talents.
Next week, we have on the Grantsville mayor to be. And the week after that, we have the Tooele mayor incumbent running. So everyone join us those 2 weeks. And I'm pretty sure this isn't the last time we've heard from Nicholas.
No,
or
it definitely-
Nick.
Yeah. I'm not in trouble yet. So Nick is good.
All right.
Once you get that Democrat nominee, you can come on back and hash it out with Mike Lee.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we should have you back on before then, because this time we rambled around. Next time,
yeah, we can't. Yeah,
next time you come in, you sit down, you give us the message. We're just gonna hit the button.
Jared's going to ramble either way.
No,
No
I
way
can
around
be
it.
quiet. I
No,
can
you
be
can't.
quiet. I will get knockout drunk. I'll sit
You
here
just
and
sit
do
in the back, just like.
I am not wearing the aggressive maker.
Can I touch it?
Please,
Oh yeah.
dude.
That's
That
what
is
that's
that
what they
is
wear.
that is worse than an army wool blanket. I kid you not. That thing, man. I'll bet they have underwear made out of that too.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
then we wonder why they are such a ferocious fighting force. Anyways, thanks for joining us, everyone. We will see you next week.